Is that how we're starting the show?
No.
Smells like fish.
All right. Okay. Let's do it. Yeah, that was it. It was just the volume spike.
What's our intro?
Just give it a second. Just give it a little space so that we can, when I edit, it's there.
Oh.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to Untitled Car Project. Thanks for listening. Really appreciate you guys turning in. Let's see. Tonight on the show, we've got Jimi Day from FM3 Performance Marketing. Woo. And I'm Rob Spring.
I'm Grant Gonzalez.
Jeremy Molt.
Very good. We are about to... we're going to call Jimi here in a couple of minutes, but I wanted to say a couple things. I wanted to ask first our listeners if any of you have ever been to the Goodwood Revival. Mm-hmm. So we are potentially planning that. The revival's in September, and if you've been to the show, I want you to email us and tell us what we shouldn't miss, what we should really look out for, go do. Anything that you can recommend about the show, especially our listeners in the UK, that would be super helpful. Looking for tips and hints about Goodwood. So,
hopefully one of our future guests can give us more detail on that hint.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, quite possibly.
That was a big hint.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I like it. Yep. Yeah, so that I'm looking forward to that.
You are. I'm looking forward to it too, Jeremy.
What are we looking forward to?
Jeremy's not looking
He's not
forward
even
to
listening.
it. That's
No,
okay.
I'm listening. Are we talking about the guest or the Goodwood?
Goodwood. Both.
Yes, that would be epic. I'm not sure I'll be able to make it, but I will certainly try.
I'm going regardless. So anyway, something else I wanted to, since everybody, you just tuned in, you've got your phone in your hand, there is a little box with an up arrow in there.
Or star.
Whatever. I want you to share the podcast.
Oh, that.
Click on that box, share it with one of your car buddies or two of your car buddies right there. It's going to pop up with your contacts or your text. Just text it to somebody. Share the podcast.
Hey, guess what, Rob?
I want to run a little bit of a social media experiment.
Exactly. Hey, guess what, Rob?
What's that?
I'm just sharing the podcast right now with my two good friends.
Cool.
Oh, yeah.
I'm already a follower.
Oh, I need to find two more friends.
Yeah, you need to find two different ones.
We're going to need you to
Find somebody that would be interested and text it to them.
Okay.
Do that for me.
I'll do that after the show.
That'd be awesome.
Otherwise, it's distracting.
It is distracting. What else are we talking about today? Anything good?
A bunch of stuff.
Bunch of stuff.
We've got...
we're going to talk
find
to Jimi Day.
sleeper cars.
We're going to talk about some sleeper cars, maybe some Goodwood again. Spending other people's money.
ZR1.
That was a topic. We might talk about the ZR1, though I didn't do any research on that, so I'd be talking out my ass. But what's new?
Okay.
What's new? All right, I am going to let Grant entertain us for a moment while I call Jimi. How about that?
Okay.
That sound good?
Please
so,
don't sing.
What?
Yeah, don't sing.
Oh, come on. That's the most entertaining thing we got on here.
I don't know about
Hi, this is Jimi Day.
Oh, there we
Sorry
go.
that I missed your phone call,
How about that?
but if you will, please leave a message.
He's got you on permanent block.
Good grief, these people. They told me,
gonna be
call
edited.
this number.
This is going to be edited out.
Yeah.
No.
No? Okay.
No.
No.
So, I don't know about you guys. On a side note, random. Let's just start with this for entertainment. I randomly saw a car today I could not identify. It was like a 70s Camaro looking from the back, but the front of a Skyline.
70s Camaro. With...
I don't...
Oh, there we go. There's Jimi right there.
We'll touch back on that.
Mr. Day, how are you? I probably need to make sure that this is going to the right place. There we go. Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
I can. That's
Hello.
great. Hey, welcome to the show, and thanks for calling.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't have you on my phone, so it went to my phone blocks
Went to
numbers.
I went to the spam mail again. It is not the first time that's happened.
Yeah, spam seems to be prolific these days.
It is awful. It is so bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, here we are. Thanks again. I wanted to start out with FM3 Performance Marketing. So that is that your company? Did you start that company?
I did.
How did that come about? Like, what spurred you to start that?
Well, that's probably the most interesting story. I'm a former investment banker, so I started out of college in banking, and that wasn't going to be a chosen career, but I was married and had a very young child and needed a job. I've always been a car guy, and I had visions of working in the automotive industry, but
Hmm.
realities are that when you have a young family, you got to pay the bills. And my my wife at the time, her mom worked in human resources at one of the local banks and said, "Hey, I can get you a job." And
Nice.
it's like, okay, I'll do that for a while.
Mm.
And 18 years later, from starting in the mailroom all the way to J.P. Morgan on Wall Street, I
Nice.
had a
Wow.
banking career.
Mm.
Yeah, it was fun, and I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong, I did. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't really me.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Investment banking is hard. There's a lot of stress and a lot of pressure.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Um, I grew up in a small town. I was raised in Pleasant Plains, Illinois. Spent most of my life there. Population 650.
Oh man.
My
Wow.
my entire high school had, junior high and high school, because it was seventh grade through senior, and there was 200 people in my entire school growing up, and
Yeah.
Hmm.
so I was just a kid from a small town in central Illinois, and I didn't, didn't really fit my personality. I happened to be good at it and did it for a long time, but eventually I was like, you know what, I can't do this anymore.
Mm.
And I had been doing it for about 18 years, and I had enough years that I could actually retire.
Oh wow.
Hmm.
So I was 40 years old, and I retired.
Dang.
Um,
That's good.
Now, that sounds like a great story. You
It
retire
does.
when you're
Yeah.
Sounds
40, and
amazing.
and right?
Yeah.
But when you retire at 40, you really don't get any of your retirement benefits.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have some of them, but you don't get them until much later in life. And
Mm.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
like,
true.
Yeah.
what do we do now? So I've always been a car guy, and so I lived in Wisconsin at the time, and one town over was there's a build shop over there called Aloha Automotive, and they kind of specialized in Mopars, but they did other stuff as well. And I had a '69 AMX that I had recently purchased, and I took it over there to have them do some work on it.
Like what kind of work? Just
And
like spruce it up, or just maintenance? Or this is Grant, by the way. Hi.
yeah, hi Grant.
Hello.
Yeah, so it was a car show car. I had
Okay.
originally bought it to take to local car shows. I fell in love with an AMX when I was 15,
Mm.
at the local body shop in Pleasant Plains, Illinois, where they let me work after school and on weekends. And um, I didn't you didn't see a lot of AMXs. They weren't
No.
they weren't
No.
that popular, honestly, and they didn't make very many of them. But
Right.
I saw one when I was 15, and I finally got one in 2002.
Oh
I
man.
actually bought one, and it had spent its entire life in Eureka, California, and the guy that owned it had just moved to Arkansas and wanted to sell it. But it's funny because he towed his trailer
Hmm.
from Eureka, California to Arkansas with the AMX. It had a trailer hitch on it when I got it.
Oh wow.
Oh okay. Wow.
But I bought it. It was a nice car. It wasn't perfect, but it was nice, and it had a 401 and a 4-speed in it, and I was doing some things to it. It was a 390, originally a 390 automatic car,
Okay.
Okay.
but
I was going to ask the 401 isn't. Yeah, I was going to say it's a 390 usually, so a 401 is not.
yeah, 401 was not a 69 option.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
That was an option in 70, but the car was decent, and I got it for a decent price. But there were some things I was doing to it, and I took it over to Aloha. This happened to be after a lot to do, and I was putzing with the car, and I took it over there and met the owner, and I pretty regular because it was fun to hang out over there. It was a pretty big shop, and they had a lot of really cool Mopars over there.
Yeah.
That's always the best when you
And
find a shop like that.
Yeah.
yeah, so it was just fun to go hang out. But I was over there one day, and he said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "I don't know." He goes, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "I don't really know." And he said, "Well, honestly, I need somebody here that if you want something to do, I need somebody here that can kind of do customer service and sales and just kind of manage things around here." He said, "It's gotten
Hmm.
bigger than I can handle by myself, and if you want something to do, you can do that." And I'm like, wow. okay, that sounds fine. It doesn't, it obviously didn't pay enough to be a career. So I was still looking for something else.
Yeah.
And I started doing that. And after about, I don't know, I've been doing that for about 6 weeks. And over lunch, he mentioned that at some point in time, he was going to sell the company. And I'm like, well, wow, maybe I have a different opportunity here.
Yeah.
My investment banking instincts kind of kicked in, and I said, well, maybe I'll buy it. Let me look at the books. Let me do my due diligence and see. And yeah, I think it'd be fun to own and run a shop and build really cool stuff. And the infrastructure and machinery was already there. Pretty good staff. It was a big shop. There was 26 people.
Oh wow,
there.
that is a lot.
Yeah. So we put this deal together, and we reached a verbal agreement. There was still some due diligence to do, but there were some pretty important events coming up in the car world. And I said, look, I want to rename the shop. He said, okay, that's fine. Go ahead. You can rename it. You can put a new sign on it. And then, we'll still work towards this final deal. He wasn't a really smart guy. I'll be honest with you. He was not that smart, but he let me change the name of the shop.
Yeah.
And we did a hot rod power tour in 2004, and we had a stop at my shop called Imagine Motorsports, and it wasn't even mine at the time. But he was very convinced we were going to do a deal. We put it together. Well, it turns out after doing more due diligence, about 6 months down the road, I figured out that he owed a lot more on the business than he said he did. He had mortgaged his house in order to get it where it was at, and he expected me to take on all that debt. And I said, well, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm a smart banker guy. I know exactly what the business is worth, and I'll pay you what it's worth. And he could not understand that the business wasn't worth what he owed on it. It just didn't compute with him.
Yeah.
He just assumed that if he owed and the bank loaned him money on it, then it must be worth that.
Gotcha.
And it wasn't. So
was it just
that deal
small
fell
stuff?
apart.
Was it just small stuff that added up over time for his business that got him into debt, or was it like something major?
Big loans or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was loans that he had taken out, and the bank, he thought the bank was giving him business loans, and the bank was actually taking mortgages on his house. He actually had 3 mortgages on his house.
Oh goodness.
Oh man.
So there was substantial business debt that was all secured with a mortgage on his house, and of course, without paying those off, he was unable to sell the business.
Yeah.
So that deal fell apart. But it took, from the time I started there until that deal fell apart was nearly a year. And so I had gotten to know many of the customers there, and it turns out that a few of them liked me better than they liked him. And so I was getting ready to exit there, and I had 3 customers that said, if you start your own shop, we'll give you work to do.
If you build it, they will come.
Yeah, build it and they will come. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got a break. And so I leased a building from a friend of mine who owned a classic car dealership in Milwaukee. He had an empty building. It wasn't big. It was just under 4,000 square feet. But it was big enough.
Yeah.
To get me going. And he promised me that I could, in between, big projects, I could work on, any of his classic cars that needed work. He would bring them to me. So I kind of had some built-in cash flow going on. So I started my own build shop. It was called Imagine Motorsports. And we specialized in high performance and investment grade sort of restorations on really nice cars. And I was kind of a Mopar guy. I just, and having worked at Aloha, that's what they specialized in. And I got to really know Mopars really well. And if you guys remember, and I don't know you guys. I don't know how old you are or how far back you guys go, but you've got a really good podcast. So I'm assuming you guys are pretty knowledgeable about the car marketplace. But if you remember back in 05 and 06, all the way up to really 08, if you had a, any kind of original 70 or 71 CUDA or Challenger.
Yep.
Some of those cars were bringing $1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At Barrett Jackson. It was silly.
I think I was at the It might have been 2008 or 7 when Barrett Jackson had that 40-mile CUDA go up on the block and set a record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So that year,
Mm-hmm.
if you remember, there was a lot of Mopars there.
Oh,
that
yeah.
year.
I remember that.
Because that was what was really selling big, right? Those
Yeah.
were big at the time. And so that year, actually, it was 2007. On Saturday night, you know how Barrett Jackson lists their top 5 sellers?
Mhm.
As you know, if you're watching on TV, they always list their top 5 sellers. 4 of them were Mopars, and all 4 of those Mopars had come through my shop.
Wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's epic.
Yeah. So, you know, we were doing a lot of really good, cool stuff. I mean, those weren't my cars. I wasn't making the money on them. I was getting paid to put them in that condition.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But the owners were making, you know, a lot of money on
Well,
them.
absolutely. But that says a lot for you and your shop. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, thanks. And I've always taken everything I do very seriously. And, you know, getting into the automotive arena, you know, I call it late in life, right? I didn't start working on cars until I was 40.
Yeah.
I worked on them as a kid, and I worked on my own stuff, but at a professional level, I didn't get into doing this until I was 40. But
Yeah.
I will tell you that my investment banking background played a key role in being successful early on. First of all, my customers thought I was credible, right? They're like, hey, this guy's an investment banker. He's got some smarts. I didn't really have any smarts. I just happened to be good at investment banking, but
Sure.
but it worked. And the other thing I didn't know is I wrote proposals a lot to a lot of the automotive parts companies to do some sponsorship stuff, and I, you know, I got a lot of deals done, and I didn't realize that during that time, there was a lot of companies out there that would ask for sponsorship and then just not fulfill their sponsorship obligations and just go on down the road.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see
I
how
didn't
that'd be a
know that was an option.
yeah. It shouldn't be.
I agree with you. It shouldn't be. But I didn't know it was an option. And so if I said I was going to do something, I did it. And I followed through, and I built a lot of really strong relationships in the time that that I had Imagine Motorsports and with, you know, with my suppliers and things like that. I built some really strong relationships. So that's kind of where I got my start in the car world. But then, you know, everybody knows what happened in 2008.
Yep.
You know, everything came crashing down.
Yes, it
but
did.
I was, once again, very lucky because having had my investment banking background, I was pretty keen on the markets, and I paid attention to them, and I kind of had an idea of what was coming.
Mm-hmm.
It was my job for so many years to understand the markets and you know, be prepared for that kind of stuff. So I kind of was, and I had the opportunity to sell the build business in late 2007. Guy came along. He was from Pennsylvania, owned a big custom homes company, and he had a very big car collection.
Mm-hmm.
And he had an idea. He built custom homes, but he had a process to where he had a build sheet. He had a build sheet to build a custom home, and you just filled out the build sheet.
Yeah.
Like a template, you mean?
Yeah, it was like a template, and you just filled it out, and he could tell you how much it was going to cost, when it was going to get done, and really streamline the process for building homes. And he had the idea that he was going to do the same thing with custom cars. That's what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
He wanted to take that same model, and instead of building a house, build a car. And so he bought my build business.
Do you think a model like that could actually work? Because like with cars,
we were going to get to that, I think.
Sorry. I'm kind of a cut to the chase sort of guy sometimes, because that doesn't work. And you know, so he had that idea, and you know, he did have it well thought out. He really did. But what he didn't have was the experience and the background to know that was not the first time someone had thought about that.
Yeah.
It was not the first time that somebody had tried to mass produce vehicles at a high level.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't understand the infrastructure that was involved with, you know, building 100 cars a year.
Yeah.
Oh man.
You know, that doesn't sound like a lot, but
no, but that's 3 cars a day.
Well,
Yeah.
You know,
No, well,
for a year.
it's not 3 cars
No,
a day.
It's
One
a
every
car
3
every
A car
day.
every 3 days. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you think about the infrastructure it takes to support that, just the manufacturing facility that you have to have in order to
Yeah.
be able to have all the parts you need
Oh man.
and do all the things you need to do, it's massive. It really is. But many people don't think about that.
Yeah, it could probably be
they-
something that could be done if with a newer car, but especially if you're trying to do restoring classics or something that possibly has rust or don't know all the gremlins that have been through the life of said car. You're asking a lot,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But he came along at the right time and he wanted my build business and he wanted the customer base, which was fine. And I was glad he did because I knew I needed to get out and getting in is a lot easier than getting out. I'll tell you, it's kind of like being a drug dealer. Once you're in, you're in. It's hard to get out, but he came along at the right time and he not only did he take over the building, but he also took over the projects. So none of my customers were left hanging. He took the staff, so they all had jobs and continued on.
Yeah.
And I was kind of set free to do something else.
Yeah. Move on to the next project.
Yeah, that's a good clean
Yeah.
transition.
Yep.
Yeah, and I had through my build business, Imagine Motorsports, I was actually just down the road about 8 blocks from Optima Batteries. And they were one of my sponsors. Early on in Imagine Motorsports, I had met Cam Douglas, who was the marketing director at Optima. Actually did a lot of work for him. He had a couple of cars that came through my shop, and he would come down to my shop a couple times a week just to get out of his office, I think.
Yeah, that's where that relationship started.
It started way back,
Yeah.
and probably I want to say probably 2005 when I met Cam Douglas from Optima, just as a supplier of batteries to my shop. And he said, I want my batteries in every car that comes out of your shop. And so we developed a really good relationship. And in 2006, Cam offered me his booth space at Good Guys in Milwaukee. He said, hey, man, I'll give you my space if you will, put my banners up and you can take one of your cars over there, show that it has Optima battery in it, but I'll give you my booth space.
That's awesome.
And I said, wow. That's generous. And of course, I'm still, trying to recruit, customers into my shop. So I went over there and did the best I could to make my cars look good, talk about Optima batteries and that kind of stuff. And that's really what led to the marketing company. Because when I sold the build business, Cam had called me and said, hey, what are you doing now? And I said, well, I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, would you take one of our trailers on the road since you don't have a shop now? Would you take a truck and trailer and go on the road for us and be a representative for Optima Batteries and help us market our product? And I said, okay, that sounds like fun. I don't even know what to charge you. He said, well, figure it out. He didn't tell me what he would pay. He just said, figure it out.
Wow.
And he said, I have to sell it to my boss, but I think we can make this happen. Like, all right. So I went back home and I'm like, gosh, I'm gonna have a marketing company now. Sweet.
What do I do with that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I'm not trained in marketing. I kind of knew what marketing was, but I wasn't trained in it. But I was good at relationships. I didn't tell any lies. I was always very honest with people, and I believed in the products that I used. So I had some credibility. I had been in a few car magazines, and people kind of knew who I was. So I called my best buddy, Wally Olzak. He was one of my service providers, and Wally is my partner in FM3 now. But Wally ran a media blasting business in Northern Illinois. I was in Milwaukee. He was in Northern Illinois. And he had done media blasting for guys like Troy Trepagna, Alan Johnson, a lot of these big name builders.
Mm-hmm.
And he did the media blasting on my car as well. We had gotten lucky enough to get a couple of things on the Speed channel. They did a couple documentaries. I don't know if you remember the one they did on Sick Fish with Troy Trepagna. Way back in the day.
Okay.
But it was a really cool custom CUDA, and Wally had done the media blasting on it, so he ended up getting on TV. And then I took a dart down to him. I built a 70 dart swinger with a 528 Hemi in it for one of my customers, and
wow,
it was a cool car. We put an independent rear suspension in it. It was really the first kind of pro touring dart that was ever made.
that's cool.
I didn't really realize we were, setting a trend or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, I shed more tears over that car than I've shed over any car in my life.
Is
That
that
was
right?
the
Really?
most difficult build I've ever done.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How many hours did you guys have into it?
It was over 3,000 hours,
Oof.
and it wasn't perfect. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't perfect. We had taken a 528 and we tried to fuel inject it, which, fuel injection at the time, and you remember this is 2005, right?
Yeah, this
Sure.
is before it was really hard to
So-
get mapping done and everything on those things.
The state of the art system then was the Holley Commander 950.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys remember that, but
Hmm.
we laughed about it not very long ago because Holley's one of my primary customers now.
Yeah.
And that's we formed that relationship way back then too. But if you ask them now about the Commander 950, they simply laugh, and they will tell you that they literally threw a truckload of those away
Oh, wow.
because they just didn't work.
Yeah.
And man, we struggled. I did get the car to run and drive. It was never perfect. So, but that's a whole nother story.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I went on the road. And I called my friend Wally and I said, look, man, I can't do this by myself. And he had mentioned to me that he was trying to get out of the media blasting business. He said it's never fun to go home with media blasting stuff in your butt crack and,
All over.
and everywhere else in your
Yeah.
body. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Mhm.
he was tired of it.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty decent business. And I said, look, I think we have an opportunity here. And he said, okay. So he went about selling his business and we went on the road together and
So
we built
what did that
FM3.
What did that
from
look
that.
like in the early, like if you were on the road, before Wally came into the picture of it, what were you doing? I mean, like, were you going to car shows and that kind of stuff and promoting Optima batteries, or what was that like?
That's exactly how it started.
Okay.
Yep. That's exactly how it started. It was, and we actually called it 2 Men in a Truck between us when we started, because we did everything. We literally did everything. We owned the company. We didn't borrow any money. And I'm so proud to say today that FM3 has never borrowed a dime. Everything that we've built, we built with our sweat equity. And now we have a full staff and we do a lot of really cool
Yeah,
things. But
best
back then
business
it
model
really was.
ever. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hard business model, but
Yeah.
it's the best one. And we had very little money, and it was, when we were both on the road, we started with a pickup truck for Optima. We had a quad cab, we had a 2006 Chevy Silverado, quad cab 4-wheel drive, and we pulled a 28-foot trailer. Both the vehicles were wrapped, and we practically lived in that vehicle running I think the first year we ran a 15 event schedule for Optima.
Back and forth across the country.
And we went everywhere. I remember
Yeah.
we drove, I left Milwaukee and we were on our way to Pleasanton to do a Good Guys show in Pleasanton. And we left Milwaukee and we were so excited. This was our very first show we were ever going to. And so excited. I left Milwaukee and drove all the way to Park City, Utah before I stopped.
Oh, wow.
I was all hopped up. And,
Yeah.
finally stopped in Park City and then made the rest of the drive and got set up with Good Guys and did our thing. And Optima, they really liked what we were doing for them. It was a little bit of a different approach to marketing because I had been a builder, right? I was able to talk to people that came in the booth like a legit car builder. I could talk not just batteries.
Yeah.
I wasn't a college grad reading from a script saying, hey, I don't know the answer to that, but I'll get you one. I actually had a lot of answers and could talk to people. And some people knew who I was from the magazine articles and stuff.
You were coming to them from your world, not from like a salesman pitch. Which made it more authentic and made people like, oh yes, this is awesome. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and we learned so much in those early days about what we needed to do to be successful as a marketing company, and we still employ that today. We were not trained marketing professionals, but we had a passion. and we were very, very passionate, and we loved what we did, and it kind of showed. And so that's always been kind of the core of FM3. When we hire people, we don't necessarily we kind of think we can train them on the marketing stuff, but we can't train them on passion.
Yeah.
That just comes from within, right? So that's kind of the number one thing. If you want to work for us, you better be passionate about the industry. We'll teach you the rest. But if you're not passionate about it and you're just looking for a job, probably not the one for you.
Is that pretty hard to weed out people to figure out if they do have passion, rather than just say if they're putting on a face, just trying to get through an interview?
We're getting better at it.
Yeah.
after having made a few mistakes, we're getting better at it. We probably have the most solid team right now that we've ever had in the history of FM3.
Okay.
We're coming up this next month. Actually, will be our 18th year in business.
Oh, wow.
That's
awesome.
So time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, no doubt.
But I don't know if you guys know, but FM3 is actually a Chrysler paint code. Did you guys know that?
I did not know that. Huh.
What color is it?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you the story about that. When we were trying to come up with a name for our marketing company, because Optima said you have to send us an invoice because we have to pay you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And so we were trying to come up with a name for our marketing company. And I said, man, we need to be a high impact marketing company. That's what we really need to do. That's our main focus. We're going to be a high impact marketing company, but that's what all marketing companies do. We don't want to be, we don't want to call ourselves high impact marketing, because that's kind of redundant. That's what it should be. And then it got me thinking, it's like, hey, Chrysler came out with high impact colors in 1970.
Smart.
Right. So I'm falling now back on this whole MoPar thing, because I had done so much MoPar research. I talked to people in the factory. I knew all the paint codes. I mean, we knew chalk marks. We knew paint splotches. We knew everything. And so I'm like, hey, high impact marketing, high impact colors. Oh yeah. So here's this list of colors. And Chrysler had their list of high impact colors kind of in the order that Chrysler thought they were in level of boldness.
Okay.
And right at the top was FM3. Well, FM3 is Panther Pink.
Oh, yes.
Hell yeah.
I love it.
It is.
That's
right.
awesome.
And so, and if you think about the FM3 Chryslers that you've seen in the past, if you see a Panther Pink Cuda or Challenger, holy cow, are those things bright?
Yes.
And they make an impression, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, when you say impact pink, like the first thing come mind is just a CUDA,
Yeah, I know exactly what car that. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and a lot of them were pink with like a white interior or a white vinyl top, right? And they made an impression. When you saw one, you didn't soon forget it. And it was kind of a love it or hate it thing. There was really no middle ground on the FM3 color. It was in Plymouth, it was called Moulin Rouge, and Chrysler Dodge called it Panther Pink. So that's how we decided on FM3, because it was automotive related, right? It's a Chrysler paint code.
Yep.
It's a high impact color, and it actually it's easy to say. It kind of rolls off your tongue, FM3. And I had a guy we told a guy we were gonna be FM3. We were talking to one of my friends. It was actually the guy who started. He started the one of the very first forums back in 2004 called. You guys remember a forum called Lateral G?
No, I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah, it was one of the first pro touring forums back in the early 2000s. Scott Gulbranson was the guy's name that started it, and I had become friends with Scott because we did a lot of stuff, and we advertised on Lateral G. They promoted the things we were doing. They were a big promoter of the Dodge Dart we did, because it was a pro touring type car.
Sure.
But Scott was he was a bit of an artist, and I was talking to him, and I said, we're going to design a logo at some point in time. And he goes, well, I will help you with your website, and I'll just create a logo that's a placeholder. He said, it's nothing fancy. I'll just make a placeholder for you. And he created the logo that we still use today.
Well, I guess it was a good placeholder.
Yeah.
And it's timeless. The colors were right. The font was perfect. He created a font for us. And literally he made this logo. He told me it took him about 16 minutes
to make
the logo. It's the logo we use today.
That's
Is how
awesome.
long it stuck around.
Yeah, that's really
Um,
cool.
but yeah, that's how we came up with FM3 marketing, and we call it FM3 Performance Marketing. But that's how we came up with the name for our company, and that's really how we kind of got the business started. We hit the road, and as we hit the road and went to all these different shows, of course we established relationships with some other companies. Holley was one of the first companies that, I mean, I knew them already.
Yeah.
And so, we told them we were doing some marketing stuff, and that was the birth of LS Fest, the very first LS Fest.
Oh, nice.
And that's a funny story in and of itself, and
Yeah.
I'll tell you that one. But
You bet. I
we
want
created a relationship with QA1. We now run
Yep.
QA1's marketing program, and their event marketing program for them. We do stuff for Holley. We just established a bunch of relationships throughout the industry, and that's what really helped us take off and get going.
Yeah.
Every year that we worked for Optima, and we still work for them today.
Yep.
They're our longest tenured customer, and we have a great relationship with them, really strong relationship. And what started out as going to events in a quad cab pickup truck and a 28-foot trailer, now we have 2 giant semis that we run for them, as well as we have remote marketing vehicles that we run for them. We run their Ultimate Street Car series for them. We do all of their sponsorship management for them. We've this relationship has just blossomed.
Yeah,
and,
no kidding.
And all of that helped us get other business in the marketplace. And, that led to our relationship with Holley. When we did our first Ultimate Street Car Invitational, Holley came to us and said, "Hey, do you guys, have any ideas for an event that we might run?"
Oh, that's cool.
And we did, and that's how LS Fest was born. And of course, now there's 3 LS Fests, a MoParty and a Ford Fest, and then we got introduced to Motor Trend, and they saw what we were doing. So now we run both Motor Trend Power Tours and their Roadkill Nights program. So it's really just kind of taken off.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Well, you were saying that's how those things were born. You had a lot of contacts, but had you not done such a fantastic job, it never would have taken off.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to give yourself some credit too. I mean, you did it right, and they could see that. So I think that's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
thanks
like you
for
said, there's
that.
passion
And
in
honestly, I'm serious when I say I just didn't know any better. We just, Wally and I both have a pretty good work ethic, though, and it's like, look, let's talk less, listen more, and honestly, we just had to listen more because sometimes we didn't even know the right words. One of the most intimidating things to do was when we would get invited to go to marketing meetings at Optima. They would have an annual marketing meeting where they bring in all of their agencies and they talk to them about the plans for the upcoming year, right? New products, new marketing initiatives, things like that.
Yeah.
Well, the first one of those we got invited to was in 2009. So Wally and I go in as their event marketing company, right? We're still in the pickup truck and 28-foot trailer going out to all the events, and we're sitting at a conference table at the Johnson Controls headquarters in Milwaukee. And now I'm not intimidated by this because I was an investment banker, so I'm not intimidated by it at all.
Right.
But we're sitting there with agencies from downtown Chicago and agencies from New York that are talking about all these things, and they're using all these marketing terms and buzzwords that, quite frankly, we don't even know what they mean.
Oh, yeah.
So, we're sitting there with our phone in our lap doing a Google search on what does this acronym really mean? So
what is he talking about right now?
We did way more listening than we did talking because we just didn't know any better.
Yeah, just trying to learn and learn as you go, really.
But the other thing that did was we didn't lie to them.
Yeah.
We didn't talk in marketing buzzwords. We didn't fluff our numbers with any kind of, algorithm or something along those lines. We literally told them the truth. Mm-hmm. If 230 people came through the booth at Pleasanton and we gave away 65, brochures and 24 T-shirts, that's what we told them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they found it refreshing. I really do. And so we've always been, we're still that way. We still don't use kind of standard marketing metrics. I mean, we know what they are now, but we still don't use them because we don't feel like that's the truth. And we would rather tell you the truth because we feel like an honest relationship is a stronger relationship. And that's how we've built our business, is on long-term relationships. We're not a huge company,
Yeah.
but the customers we have are loyal,
Yeah,
and
that's
they give us more and more business every year. And we're great friends with all of them. So we've been very blessed from that perspective.
That's really cool. Yeah. Well, that's quite a story too. I mean, you said that was the best one. That's pretty impressive, honestly. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really cool.
The other one is the LS Fest story, and how that, if you guys have time, I don't know how much
Absolutely.
time
Yeah,
you want to
I
spend
want to hear
on
about it.
stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
But the LS Fest story actually came about when, and it started again, and this was, I think, 2009 at PRI in Orlando, Florida. We had scheduled a meeting with a potential client, and it was, I won't say their name, but it was an oil company
Okay.
client, or potential client, who had come to us before PRI and said, guys, we saw what you did with your Ultimate Street Car Invitational, and we think that's kind of a cool idea.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any other ideas? We want to do kind of a festival type weekend. Can you put something together and bring it to PRI, and we'll sit down and see if we can work something out? We said, sure. So Wally and I spent, I don't know, probably a month kind of coming up with our initial concept of what a festival event would look like.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And it, that original proposal included things like autocross and drag racing, and we didn't have drifting in there because drifting hadn't really taken off yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we did have some family events in there, and we talked about a stunt show, because stunt shows were still big back then. I don't know if you guys remember the Joey Chitwood thing.
Oh yeah.
Well, that had run its course, but there were some other people doing some stunt show type things. So we put together this proposal, and we met for breakfast with this oil company at PRI, and they went through the proposal, and this was a pretty well thought out PowerPoint deck that we went through. I don't know, it had maybe 12, 15 pages in it.
Yeah.
We went over it at breakfast, and they looked at it, and we got to the last page and said, well, what do you guys think? And it was really funny because you could just see the disappointment on their faces.
Oh, really?
And I was like, shit.
Oh.
We missed. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that.
No, you're fine. Internet radio, you can say whatever you want.
We missed. We swing and a miss, big time swing and a miss. I can read the room. And they said, guys, they said, we don't know what we were thinking about, but this wasn't it. Thank you very much for, putting this together, but this is not going to work for us.
Huh.
And we're like, dang, all right.
And
we're kind of hanging our heads. We go to PRI that morning. We're walking the floor and meeting with, trying to drum up some new business. And we walked by the Holley booth, and Bill Tishner was in there. And Bill Tishner's been the marketing guy at Holley for now 30 years. He's been through all of the mergers, all the bankruptcies, all the acquisitions, and he's still there. But I had worked with Bill a little bit on a project when I had Imagine Motorsports. They built a big motor, and we were going to put it in a Ford Torino project. And so we had worked together on that, and I knew Bill. So we stopped by the Holley booth just to say hi to Bill.
Yeah.
And he said, hey, what are you guys doing? And we told him, what we were doing on the marketing side of things, and that things were doing pretty well. But we were, looking to do some other stuff. And he said, man, you guys did a great job on your Ultimate Street Car Invitational. I saw that. And he said, do you guys happen to have any ideas for maybe another event?
Do we have
Holly's
something
thinking
for
about
you?
doing an event. So Wally and I kind of looked at each other, and Wally and I are best buddies. We can communicate without talking a lot.
Yeah.
So this look kind of passed between us, and I said, well, yeah, we have some ideas. What are you doing for dinner tonight? And he said, well, yeah, I got some time. You want to go to dinner? I said, well, let us put something together and let's meet over dinner.
Nice.
He said, okay. And so I'm not kidding you. Wally and I left PRI right then and there. We went back to the hotel. We pulled up that PowerPoint presentation. we changed the logos and the names on the PowerPoint presentation that we had done. And we printed that thing out and took it to Bill Tishner over dinner and presented it.
Yeah.
Just like we had that morning at breakfast to the other company. Well, it turns out Bill loved the idea. He loved the festival event idea. And what made this thing all work, though, was he said Holley is really getting into the LS market. And in 2009, the LS market was just getting started.
Yeah.
And he said, Holley's going to build a bunch of parts for these LS motors. We believe that this LS platform is going to be big. And so
they weren't
we
wrong.
want to do an event that kind of focuses on that to help sell our product.
Yeah.
So we tweaked that, the idea that we came up with, we tweaked it and added his ideas in there. And that's how LS Fest was born.
That's fantastic.
In 2010, we did our first LS Fest.
That is awesome. Wow. Yeah, that's a great story.
Well, one man's trash is another man's treasure.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Well, I wonder too if, that other company that you presented to, if they look back at that and go, oops.
Son of a.
Yeah.
I've often thought that myself, and as much as I want them to think that, I don't think they did. They went a different direction.
Okay.
They started putting their brands in movies and different things like that. So they really went a different direction.
And that's how we got Marvel.
Yeah.
They've been, and they're still around. They've been a fairly successful company.
Yeah, that's good.
If I told you their name, you would know it right off the bat.
I am pretty sure I know it.
They've done
now.
well for themselves, and I don't think they're sad about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody's more surprised, honestly, at the growth of the events than we are ourselves.
Really?
We're flattered that people really want to come to these events, and they've just grown so big. I mean, we did 2010. We're doing our 15th LS Fest coming up this year. And LS Fest has survived through a lot of things.
Yeah.
The first year we did it, we had a couple hundred cars show up for the whole thing. I mean, that was our autocross, our drag racers, our car show, everything. And one of the things we talked about when we set this up with Holley is you've got to go into this and make a 3-year commitment because the event world doesn't really give you any credit until you've been around that 3rd year.
Yeah.
Right. That's kind of the model. The first year you're a new event, so nobody really knows you're there. And no matter how much you promote it, you're a new event on the calendar, and you're not going to get a lot of priority against all the other ones that are already out there. Right.
Yeah.
But if you do a good job, the people that went to that event are going to tell their friends. And when you announce the dates for the 2nd year, you get a little more attention. Like, oh, I heard about that event last year, and now I hear it again this year. And oh, maybe my friend went there and he said it was great.
Right.
And so you get a little more, you get a little more attendance in year 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you announce the event again in year 3, people are like, oh, they're going to stick around. It's their 3rd year. Many of my friends have gone, look at the promotion for this thing. I got to go check this out.
Yeah.
So year 3, you see a pretty substantial uptick. And year 4 of LS Fest, it exploded.
Yeah.
I mean, it literally exploded, and it's
Just
still growing.
exponential.
Last year was I'm trying to remember what year we set a record. I think it was 2000, 10 was our first one. So year 5 would have been 2016, right? 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14. 2014 was our 5th year. We set a record at Beach Bend Raceway Park for the single largest event that Beach Bend Raceway Park had ever had.
No kidding.
How big was the number on that?
Yeah.
And we've broken our own record every year since then. It's grown that much. And last year, it grew 15% over 2023. Now, 2020 was down from 2019, but we still had the largest event in the state of Kentucky in 2020.
Wow.
In 2020, we had almost 20,000 people
Holy
at LS
smokes.
Fest during COVID year.
Yeah.
And if you remember,
during COVID
that
year.
was the year that they literally shut everything down, right? They didn't
Right.
let anybody have events.
Right.
You couldn't have spectators. All of the pro teams played without an audience. Remember that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What was that attendance like in 14? What were the numbers on that? Do you remember?
So that's, I think, the first time we cracked 10,000 people
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
on the property.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Going from 200 to 10,000 in 5 years.
Yeah,
Well,
that's crazy.
Yeah. So
growth.
the first year we had I think 700 spectators.
Yes,
Total.
200
We,
cars.
Okay.
200 was the number of cars that attended between the car show and the drag race, and like we had like 65 people that signed up to do autocross that
Yeah.
year.
Mhm.
Okay.
Because we had people knew who we were.
Yeah.
Because we'd been running the Optima series, so they kind of knew who we were, and they knew that they enjoyed autocross, and I call those my people. I feel like we've cultivated an audience that know who we are because we do certain types of events, and so we got most of our people there, and the drag race team was pretty good, and so they had a good group of drag racers there. I think they had 70 or 80 drag racers there, and we had a 50 car show. So it was it was. I remember it was, and we looked around and we're like, wow, this is kind of cool,
Mhm.
Kind
but
of crazy.
man, is it sustainable?
Yeah.
But I
well,
have to give Holley
apparently
credit.
it is.
They have staying power, and
Yeah.
they believed in the idea, and they lost money for a number of years.
Oh, is that right?
But year 5 and 6, I think they got it all back, and from then on, it's been a positive for them.
So if
And-
you're
and
looking
so
at
positive, in fact, we started more of them, right?
right, if you're looking at 20,000 person attendance, do you limit the number of cars that can show up to LS Fest?
So we do. So for example, at LS Fest East, we have a grand champion package, right? That is a car that enters, and they can run the autocross, the speed stop, the drag race, and participate in the car show and the cruise.
Mhm.
And we award prizes for 3 classes for the person who has the most combined points across those elements, and we call it grand champion. We limit that to 250.
Okay.
For a number of reasons. You just can't run more cars than that in a day, and we actually split that group. So I don't have any of you guys been to LS Fest?
Not
I've
yet.
not been to LS Fest, just Optima.
We were planning on going to
Okay.
LS this year, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's a spectacle, and it's designed to be that way. When you go to Beach Bend Raceway Park and you walk in there,
hmm
there are no less than 4 events going on simultaneously at any time during the day. And it's designed that way so that you turn in any direction and you can see smoke and noise.
Yeah.
And if you like drag racing, if you like autocross, if you like drifting, if you like burnouts, if you like dynos, it's all there. Our manufacturer's Midway has nearly 100 vendors on it,
Wow.
and it's actually split between 2 venues. We actually use Beach Bend Raceway Park, and we use the NCM Motorsports Park, the road course, which is just 6 miles away.
Gotcha.
And that group of 250 that I just told you about, we split that group in half
Hmm.
because we can't fit them all in the park.
Right.
So we send 125 of them on Friday to NCM Motorsports Park to autocross over there,
Mhm.
and then midway through the day, we flip flop.
Oh, wow.
And the 125 that were over there come to Beach Bend. The 125 that were Beach Bend go over there, and they do it all over again. And then we reverse that on Saturday. So if you started at NCM on Friday morning, you start at Beach Bend on Saturday morning,
Yeah.
and you
Okay.
flip flop the day.
That's awesome.
And so that's how we kind of fit everybody in there. We have to limit it to, I think we limit it to about 600 drag race cars, because we can't get any more than that down the track.
That's a
If
lot.
there's you guys probably know that drag racing is the worst to keep on schedule. It really is, because there's an oil down or some
Oh.
kind of mechanical failure or something
Yeah.
on the drag strip. And if you have, and we've had years where unfortunately all 600 drag racers did not really get to make their full slate of passes
How many
because
passes
we
do you
had so
typically
many
give?
oil downs. So if you sign up for a drag race class, and you show up on, let's say you get there on Thursday, get registered, get teched in, you'll start drag racing on Friday. You'll typically have a test and tune, 2 hits of test and tune on Friday, and then first round of qualifying on Friday. 2 more rounds of qualifying on Saturday. Certain classes will have 1 round of qualifying on Friday, 1 on Saturday, and we start some eliminations on Saturday.
Okay.
And then the elimination rounds are all run on Sunday.
Okay.
So if you make it, if you make it all the
Mm-hmm.
way to the elimination rounds, you will have made somewhere between 8 and 12 passes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a fair number of runs for sure.
Is your guys' autocross kind of set up the same way then as well?
So the autocross runs typically we run for like 2.5 hours in the morning, and then we run it again for 2.5 hours in the afternoon. So if you go to LS Fest East, that's the biggest one we run. You'll probably get 3 or 4 runs in the morning and 3 or 4 runs in the afternoon amongst a group that big.
Gotcha. Yeah. Wow. That is something. East would be too far for us. We would have to do LS Fest West for sure. But
yeah, and that's coming up. We're actually planning LS Fest West in Texas right now. We start planning literally in September.
yeah.
As soon as the events are over, September's festival month for us, because they're all of the brand festival events are in Beach Bend in September. So we start the weekend after Labor Day with LS Fest. The weekend after that is MoParty. And actually, FM3 owns MoParty now. That's actually our event. And, and Holley is the title sponsor for it. We run it very similar to all of the other events, except we own that one.
Nice.
And then Ford Fest is 2 weeks after MoParty. So there's typically 4 or 5 weekends in September, and we have events on 3 of them.
Wow.
Nice.
And so it's a busy month for us. And as soon as those are over, we're getting ready for SEMA, and we take off and head out to SEMA in November. We're finishing up our Ultimate Street Car season in October, and we have another charity event that we do, which is a week-long road trip event. We call it FM3 Road Trip, and that's a charity event we do in October, and then we're going to SEMA. So usually as soon as SEMA is over, we start planning for the upcoming festival season. LS Fest West is our first event in April. I think it's April, the weekend of April 20th, 1920 this year.
Okay.
And then we go right into LS Fest Texas, which is in May. And then, of course, our Ultimate Street Car season and our event marketing season takes us through, the summer. We do Power Tour. We do Roadkill Nights. We own Summit Racing Autocross Week. I don't know if you guys know that event, but it's something we do with Summit Racing.
Yeah.
And we're doing that in July.
Where is that located? Or does it rotate?
Yeah, go ahead.
Does the Summit Autocross, does that rotate, or is that always at the same venue?
No, it's kind of like a drag and drive event, but it's an autocross.
Yeah.
So it's the same format as a drag and drive. So every day you get up and drive to a new track. Well, we actually do it the opposite direction. We autocross in the morning, get done, and drive to a track.
Oh, gotcha.
Spend the night there, get up in the morning, autocross, then drive to the next track. And we do that over a 5-day period.
That'd be a fun event to do.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It is a lot of fun. And Summit did it for a couple of years, and it was mildly successful. And they called us the second year they did it. They called us and said, "Hey, would you guys, if you had the opportunity, would you guys want to run this for us?"
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Well, sure. We have some ideas." I knew about the event, and I kind of listened to the feedback, and I kind of knew how it was going, and I had some ideas on ways that we thought we could maybe help.
Yeah.
And the guys at Summit said, "Well, we're going to give it another try. The guy that's running it runs a very good drag and drive event. He's just not that familiar with autocross.
Gotcha.
But we like him, so we're going to give him another try." So they ran it the second year, and the attendance was down. There was some things that happened during the event that just Summit didn't really appreciate. And so as soon as that event was over, they called us and said, hey guys, we want to continue this, but it's just got to get better. Can you help?
Yeah.
So we said, yeah.
Cool.
And we sat down with them, and we put meetings together, and we came up with some ideas, and we ran it for the first time last year. So it was the third year of the event, but the first year we had run it.
Yeah.
Attendance was up by 25%.
Ooh.
Summit was really excited about the results. They were really excited about the things that we did. And so they immediately announced dates for this year's event.
Right on.
And we've got a 3-year deal with them now to run Autocross Week. So,
That's fantastic.
We're gonna have to look into
yeah,
that.
and that's a fun event too. It's super fun. It typically runs in what I call the Midwest. It's, we run in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky,
Yeah.
that area.
Mm-hmm.
Summit's based in Talmadge, Ohio, which is right outside of Akron. And so it's kind of in their backyard. We stop at the Summit store, and they do a big hospitality thing. And there's some cool venues up there. And we're running it in the summer, so it's a little cooler. Up there around the Great Lakes in the summertime than it is where I'm at here in the Southeast. So it works out pretty good.
Yeah.
We're going to open up registration tomorrow, actually, for Autocross Week. And based on the social media buzz, it looks like it's going to be bigger than it was last year.
Yeah, that is awesome.
That's awesome.
That's really cool. I wanted to ask you about the Ultimate Street Car Challenge, and how do you select where you run that? Because I've noticed that it does go to different venues and that kind of stuff. We had one here in Portland, but I don't think it's coming back.
I was sad I missed that
Where
one.
are you guys at?
Portland, Oregon.
You guys are in Portland. Yeah. So I'll tell you about Portland, but I'll answer your question first. How do we determine where it goes?
Yeah.
Well, 3 years ago, before 3 years ago, we picked the tracks. We picked them all by ourselves, and we just went tracks that we wanted to go to where we thought we could bring our racers that were the whole premise of Ultimate Street Car when we created the idea of the series was to take our drivers to bucket list tracks, right? There's HPDEs all over the country that run at podunk tracks and parking lots that are just pretty regular.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fun, but that experience, the wow factor just isn't there, right? We wanted to build something that had a wow factor. We wanted to be the series that everybody aspires to get to.
Yeah.
And so part of that was bringing people to bucket list tracks around the country. And that's a challenge at times, I will tell you, because we go to places like Daytona. We've been to Daytona. We've run the 24-hour Rolex course at Daytona.
Wow.
We've done that 3 times. We've been to COTA. We go to Road America. We've been to Sebring. We've been to Laguna Seca multiple years. We've been to Sonoma. So all of these, big tracks that you watch on TV and your hero drivers are racing on those tracks.
Right.
That was always our idea,
Yeah.
was to get people to those tracks. And that's a challenge sometimes. Another funny story. We rented Daytona the first year we did the series. We had been doing the Invitational. I think we did the Invitational for 3 years. We did our first Invitational in 2008. We did 2008, 2009, and 10. 2011, we decided that we had a big enough, and we went from 16 cars in 2008 to having a 300-car waiting list in 2010.
Dang.
So over those 3 years, the demand was there, and we couldn't get 50 cars at the first one.
Yeah.
But by the time we got to coming into the fourth one, I had a 300-car waiting list of people that wanted to get in. So that's when we decided we could run a series, right? It became popular enough. It's like, well, let's just do a series. And man, we went into this thing like we do everything with just both feet. We just jumped right in.
Yeah.
We created a 10-event schedule.
Oof.
The first year we did it. And it's like, we're going to do one of these a month starting in February and we'll end in November. And so, and it's like bucket list tracks. So the first year we did Daytona, we did Laguna Seca, we did Sebring, we did Road America. Trying to think where else we went. We had a couple other really cool tracks on there.
Yeah.
I think we did Thunder Hill that year. We did Las Vegas. So I mean, we had this awesome schedule, but we're flying in. Daytona was our first event that we did that year, and it was in March. And again, this is 2011.
Yeah.
And Wally and I, we're still just barely more than 2 men in a truck now. I mean, I think we had 2 people working for us now in 2011.
Yeah.
And we're going to Daytona, right? And we're flying in. And when you fly into Daytona, you fly in, the airport is behind the backstretch. I don't know if you guys have ever watched Daytona on TV, but sometimes the commentators will talk about all the private jets that land.
Yeah.
The airport is literally right behind the backstretch. So as we're coming in for a landing, we're looking out the window and we're like, holy smokes, you see Daytona in all its glory.
Yep.
Big old 2.5 mile oval and the grandstands and the World Center of Speed, that big sign on the grandstands. And we're looking out the window and we looked at ourselves and actually giggled and said, man, we rented that track.
That's awesome.
And it felt good. It really felt good to think that, man, we're doing something that matters. And look what we've done, right? We're putting our stamp on the automotive industry. Well, the first thing that happens when you get to Daytona, you have to go in a meeting room.
Okay.
They bring you into the office and you meet all the people. You meet the track operations person, you meet the fire safety people, meet the maintenance guy, and all these other people that help you, while you're at the track. And they bring you into this room, and they're like, okay, you guys have never been here before. So here's a little bit about Daytona.
Okay.
Here's where the paddock is. Here's where this is. And the third thing they tell you is, this is the building where the infirmary is at.
Oh, no.
This is our hospital.
Uh-huh.
Right next to the hospital is the building where we put the wrecked cars
Oh,
after they come off the track.
yeah.
It's good to know they got it.
Here's where Life Flight is.
Yeah.
And this is the procedure to get Life Flight going. And man, you talk about all of a sudden, like,
Sobering.
it goes from like full drunk to full sober.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
We're giggling because we've rented Daytona, and all of a sudden now we're like, holy smokes.
Now you've got all the
This is the real
responsibilities
deal.
of Daytona.
This is the real deal.
Yeah, for sure.
Luckily, we had some experience down the fire safety road early in our careers.
Yeah.
So we know what can happen, and I'll get into that story in a little bit. But we got there, and so all of a sudden we're in this meeting, and they're like, okay, any questions? And we're like, wow, okay, cool. All right, nope, we're ready to go. And they said, okay, you need to pay us.
Up
Like,
front.
oh, you got to do that now?
Yeah, write that check.
Right then and there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't do a thing at Daytona until you pay them.
Wow.
And it costs, at the time, this was 2011, $47,000 a day.
Whew. Yeah, that's a chunk.
Yeah.
And that's just the track. That doesn't cover, because they send you a bill after the event's over for fire safety and oil dry, and your one of your guys ran into our fence parking his trailer, and so you always get an invoice after the event for all that stuff. But yeah, so we literally had to write a check. We'd been there maybe 37 to 40 minutes. We'd been off the airplane maybe an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And it's like, here, you owe us $47,000 for today.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my gosh. And they are kind enough to let you pay it in 2 halves, right? But you have to give them that half right then and there.
Yeah.
And that was very sobering because, I think the first year we were there, we only had, I don't know, it was our first year running Ultimate Street Car. I think we had 41 or 42 people that showed up for that event, and they'd paid, each one of them had paid, which was a lot. Each one of them had paid like $600 to run at Daytona.
Right.
And so, and we were running at night, so they turned the lights on for us, and we ran our first Ultimate Street Car event at Daytona with 41 drivers. And man, it was really an experience. But when we left there, you've already written your second $47,000 check,
Right.
and you look and you say, geez, we collected about $20,000
Right.
in entries.
Yeah.
Sweet. we're only upside down $40,000 right now.
Right.
We just threw the most expensive party for 40 of our best friends. I remember at 10 o'clock that night. I know you guys don't know Tyler Powell, but he's a guy who runs. He's one of our good series participants. He was there at that very first event in a Datsun 280Z that he had built into a pro touring car. It was really awesome.
Yeah.
And man, he was getting his money's worth. And he was the last guy in the final session. He was the only guy to take the track.
Oh, really?
So he ran a 15-minute session on Daytona on the International Roval under the lights by himself.
That would be epic.
And
he got
paid
his money's worth for
$600.
sure.
Yeah.
And he'd run throughout the day and the weekend, and
Yeah.
he came in from that final session, and I'm on pit road, and he stops, and I walk over and I stick my head in the window. I said, Tyler, do you have any idea what just happened out there? He goes, oh man, that was fun. I said, you just ran a session on Daytona. You ran 15 minutes on Daytona under the lights by yourself. I said, there are professional racing teams around the world
Yep.
that pay $30,000 to $50,000 to do what you just did.
Yeah. That's amazing.
It's like, oh man, that's cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where do I sign up for that?
Those are the kind of experiences that we want to create. That's why we do this. It's truly an honor to be able to create these kind of memories for people.
Yeah.
I get a call or a text or a message every single year during the Rolex 24 from people that have run at Daytona in our series, and they still send me a note and say, thanks for giving us that opportunity.
No doubt.
I'm watching the race, and I know exactly what that driver is seeing. I know exactly what corner he is in. I know what that feels like, and they cherish those memories, and we don't take that for granted. We really don't. It's one of the most satisfying things about our job is the ability to do that for people.
That's really
it
cool.
really is.
Yeah. What an experience. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. But that's how we chose the tracks.
Yeah.
And that for the first, I guess, 7-8 seasons, we chose them ourselves. 3 years ago, in an effort to continue to grow our series and initially look for more spectators, right? Our series is a bit difficult to spectate from the grandstands because there's multiple things going on, and the nature of our series is we don't put scoring on a scoreboard until the event's over.
Sure.
Right? Because it changes, and we don't know who won. We don't know who's winning. Any lap on the autocross that's going on simultaneously with design and engineering can change the scoring. So we don't have a scoreboard or anything. So it's not really a spectator-friendly sport, but for many, many years we had a TV show, and we were doing the made-for-TV thing, right? And so it all made sense when you watched it on TV. But we didn't have a lot of spectators coming to the event, and ultimately you want to continue to grow, and we can only have so many people show up at an event. It's not like we have unlimited number of entries. If we allow too many people in, it you don't get enough seat time, and it's a bad experience for the participants.
Right.
And this is a participant-driven series. So in order to get more eyeballs, we partnered up with Trans Am and SVRA. Pirella Motorsports Holdings, and they run a series of events called Speed Tour Weekends. And their Speed Tour Weekends include typically Trans Am, SVRA, IGT, Formula Ford. They have a bunch of different race series that race in a weekend. And I had met Tony Pirella, who's the owner of that series, through a sponsorship deal that they did with Optima. And as we got to know each other, I approached Tony and said, man, we're looking for a way to get more spectators. Would you have any interest in us running with you on your Speed Tour weekends? My goodness sakes, you would have thought that I gave him a bunch of money. I mean, he lit up, and he's like, I would love that. He said, I have thought about that for a while, but I didn't know if that would work for you. He said, let's figure out how to make it work. I want it to happen.
Wow. That's
And
awesome.
so we sat down and we figured out on paper how to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so 3 years ago, we partnered with them. So now the tracks that we run at and the schedule we put together is part of the Speed Tour calendar. And Speed Tour runs 24 events a year all over the country. And so we now piggyback as part of that series.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And we pick of the 24 events they're going to do. We just figure out those tracks where we either haven't been or want to go, and put those on the Ultimate Street Car schedule.
Okay.
It's been a very positive thing for most of our drivers, and all of our sponsors, because now our sponsors get a lot more value,
Yeah.
because they're getting their brands exposed to a much larger audience. There's several deliverables that come from the Speed Tour series that I couldn't deliver by myself. We've got a great spectator count at most of the events. I mean, because we'll have anywhere from small event with 5,000 people up to, big events like Laguna Seca that have, 35 or 40,000.
Gotcha.
At Portland was again, getting back to Portland. We went to Portland our second year, that we did Ultimate Street Car. So I guess that would have been 2012. We were in Portland and had a really low turnout in Portland. We thought it'd be a great track. We quite frankly have to find tracks that can do what we want to do.
Yeah.
Not every track can support our series because they don't all have skid pads and road courses and enough paddock to park 80 trucks and trailers. So Portland was one of them that could. So we went up there, and it's an area of the country we hadn't been. So we went in 2012, very, very low turnout. We had, I think, 26 people that came out in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
So we took it off the schedule. But I guess it would have been 2021. Yeah. Jordan Priestley he's got a shop in Utah called JDP Motorsports. He'd been bugging me about going to Portland because it was a track that he believed in. No, I'm telling a story about a different track. Sorry. Whatever reason it was, we decided to go back to Portland in 2021 because we hadn't been there a while, and we had several people that had asked us to come back, and it's like, okay, we're going to try it again. But we had sent the message loud and clear that if we didn't have at least 60 participants, we were never going to come back. The first year we got to Portland in 21, we did get 60.
Yeah.
We got 60, and it was a good turnout, and I was really happy about that. And so that worked. It's like, okay, well, we'll put it on the schedule again next year. Well, that was 22, and no, I guess it was 22. The first year it was 23.
Yeah.
In 23, we had 51 show up.
Ugh.
And I'm like, dang, it went down.
Come on, you Portland
but the people that were missing, I had gotten messages, and people like, man, I my car broke. I was doing this. I had a few people tell me that they had plans to be there, but something happened.
That's essentially what happened to me that year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, I get it. Sometimes things happen.
Mm-hmm.
We'll try it again a third year and see if we can, get back to 60. Well, last year when we went, we had like 42, 48 cars, somewhere in something under 50.
Yep.
Last year.
Yeah.
And it became pretty clear to me that this wasn't going to grow and be sustainable. Portland, as you guys know, well, for us, it's very expensive to go to Portland. It's expensive to travel there. It's expensive to fly there. It's expensive to stay there.
Yeah.
It's far enough away that driving our trucks all the way there is expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got, it's got its own set of challenges. And so the bottom line was it wasn't sustainable to keep on our schedule. It didn't make business sense.
Was any other tracks in the Northwest even considered, like the Ridge or ORP?
No, because they don't really have the infrastructure to do what we need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And now that we're running with the Speed Tour weekends, they don't even consider those tracks because they're just not big enough.
Yeah.
And we don't do any one-off events anymore as Ultimate Street Car. So if they don't go there, we don't go there, is kind of how that works. They still go to Portland because they get a big enough turnout to make it worth their while, although it's a pretty small event, and they don't even run the National Trans Am Series there. They run a regional Trans Am race there in Portland. I love the facility. I really do. And honestly, I enjoyed going to Portland. I took a little time after the event while we were out there and really enjoyed the whole area out there. We went to the coast, we went to Mount Hood, we went up to the place where they did the Shining, the lodge
Up at the
thing up there
lodge.
on Mount Hood. That was
Yep.
kind of fun. And got some Tillamook cheese, one of my favorites.
There you go.
While we were out there. But we're not going back to Portland. And that's not to say we'll never go back again, but it's going to be off the schedule for a little bit.
Yeah, I was kind of bummed last year. I had heard about the turnout, and I was like, "Oh, that doesn't fare well." It's hard to pay the bills if you're not getting the turnout. So when I heard this year,
it's not a personal thing.
No,
it literally
financial.
is just a business decision.
Absolutely, yeah. And when I heard earlier this year, or whenever it was, maybe it was SEMA, that I had heard that it wasn't coming back to Portland. I was like, well, that's not that surprising.
Yeah. It was at SEMA. When we heard about that.
Yeah. So over time, since the Ultimate Street Car Challenge has started, are you surprised at the evolution of it, or like actually what has changed over the time since you began? Have you changed events or the style of it, or what kind of things have evolved since the beginning?
Hang on 1 second. We disconnect from Bluetooth.
We did. There we go.
That's a first.
Got you back?
Okay.
I know it
There we
is
go.
a first.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Did you hear any of
So
that?
I did. I heard.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard all the questions.
Okay.
So what's changed, and how much has changed, and am I surprised at the growth? First of all, nobody is more surprised than me at how many people attend our events, that really like to come to our events, that have become my friends and wonderful ambassadors for the sport.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's more surprised than me. When we first started this thing, we didn't know if it would last a couple of years.
Right.
It was a brand new concept that had never been tried. We thought it was a good idea, but we didn't know if anybody else thought it was a good idea. The pro touring world was new at the time, and that was kind of our, I don't want to say our target audience, but it was one of our drivers, was that we knew that people were building cars that they wanted to drive, and quite frankly, there was just no place for them to drive them. And that was we wanted to create a platform for that. And being, that Optima was kind of with us, they wanted to use the platform as a way to showcase the performance of their product. And we've always been about stimulating commerce. It's what drives our industry. And I don't know how that sounds, but for us, the idea has always been to help manufacturers and service providers in our industry create commerce.
Sure.
It's what keeps our industry alive.
Absolutely.
And if we can create a platform and companies can come out and show off their product, that it really works, it's going to help them sell those products. It's going to help build credibility.
Yep.
If we build a series and there's a shop owner that now has a couple of cars in his shop being built for this series, we've done our job. And that was our goal, is let's make the phone ring for everybody in this industry, from the smallest single guy in a shop building cars to national brands like Optima and Falcon. Let's make their phone rings. Let's see if we can make their phone ring. It's always been about that.
Yeah.
I think it has. I think I believe we have. I don't have any numbers to justify that, but I know for a fact that I've had many people call me and say thank you.
Yeah.
I have so many cars in my shop. I can rattle off 10 shops right now that do nothing but primarily build cars for Ultimate Street Car.
Yeah. We know so many people that that's what they do. They autocross locally, but they talk about going to Optima, and they're building this and that, and that's what we're heavily involved in, is project cars, and people build project cars to do these events. And I'm super excited that these events are out there to give us an opportunity to have fun with our project cars. Yeah. I mean, it's really a great community, and all of these events, whether it's Ultima Street Car Challenge or LS Fest or Drive Autocross, or even local autocross events. I mean, this is fantastic. People want to be able to use their cars.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. That's what it was really started for, and we're proud of the fact that it's still doing that, and we've been able to kind of make our mark in the automotive industry. But everything about it has changed from that first year that we did it. There are certain things. There's a few things that haven't changed. It's always been a 5-segment event done over a weekend, and it's the highest combined score of those 5 segments is how it's scored, and then we have a winner in each class, and those winners get invited to SEMA.
Right. That's cool.
That is the same.
Yeah.
The one thing, but even that has changed a little bit, because we used to have a 0 to 60 to 0 competition. We don't do that anymore. Now we have what we call our Peak Performance Challenge, which is our speed stop segment.
Gotcha.
We still do a road course. Design and engineering has evolved greatly from the first time we did it. We now have no matter what people tell you, it is a very scientific system that we use for design and engineering. We spent 3 years developing a scoring system for this series that's our own. That it's kind of like a universal translator, because we have to take timing and scoring from multiple types of electronic systems and get them into a single scoring system. They all have to learn to talk to each other in order to give us what we need. And so we built that system ourselves, and we have it now, and it's tried and true. I think our classes have evolved a little bit. We had an electric class for a while, then it went away, and now we don't have an electric class, but we have more cars.
Yeah.
But now we have a truck class. We didn't have a truck class.
I love
when we
the truck
started.
class. Yeah, that's cool.
Yep. We had a replica car class for a while. We don't have that anymore. So certain things have kind of come and gone with demand.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the one thing I will tell you that has not changed, and we will not let change, is the spirit of the event. From day one, we've kind of had in our head this spirit of the event, and we actually give an award for it at every one of our events. We give a spirit of the event award, and I always tell people the spirit of the event award doesn't go to the fastest car or the fastest driver. It simply goes to the person who's there for all the right reasons, who has that passion, that enthusiasm to just be out doing things, and that's never gone away.
Cool.
We haven't allowed race cars to take over what we're doing.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of the fact that we have 7 classes, and we had 5 of those 7 classes represented in the top 5 at the Ultimate Street Car Invitational. Each class national championship was separated by sometimes less than 2 points. One of them was separated by 1 point at the end of the season. So we feel like the levels of competition are there, the classes are good, but that spirit of the event is really important to us. It is a streetcar series. It is a real streetcar series, and we've never, ever shied away from that. The design and engineering portion of our event, which is the most controversial of just probably any series out there, right?
Yeah.
Is the heart and soul of what we do.
Yeah.
It's what makes us different than everybody else, and that will never go away. It's why we have the quality of cars that we have on track, is because of design and engineering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the quality of cars we have out on track is what makes us different than everything else out there. There are dozens of series that have race cars going around a track for amateurs.
Right.
There really is. There's Chant Car, there's Lemons, there's WRL, there's AER, there's all kinds of HPDEs. SCCA has dozens and maybe hundreds of classes, who knows, for those types of cars. None of them have made the impact on the industry that we have.
That's cool.
But that's why, because of that quality of car that's out there and the passion of the people driving those cars to get them out there and drive them on a racetrack.
Yep.
They do it. And that's what makes us different. And so that's kind of the evolution of it. It's changed a lot. It really has, but that hasn't changed.
That's cool.
And it still floors me every year when we open up registration, and we get hundreds of people registering on the day we open up registration, when we remind people of their memberships, when they tell stories, when they, I really firmly believe that a lot of our drivers will be telling their grandkids stories of the time I got to race at Laguna Seca.
Oh yeah. Heck yeah.
Just those kind of things. It's a great part of my job. That part is wonderful.
Yeah.
It really is.
That's awesome. So I think I know the answer to this, but where do you see the event in the next 5 to 10 years?
So we just signed another 5-year deal with
perfect.
Corella Motorsports Holdings.
Yeah.
And there's an option for another 5 years after that. So it's really difficult for me to envision where it might be in 10 years, because I don't know that my imagination is that big. Because I could have never imagined 10 years ago that we'd be here where we are now, or that I would be talking to you guys on a really cool Rockstar podcast about this series and about the stuff that we do. Right. I was just a nobody, and our series was nothing back then. And now it's become kind of a premier series for kind of grassroots amateurs. But our goal
really
is every year is to change it up just enough and to freshen it up just enough that it keeps people interested and keeps people wanting to come back out.
Yeah.
And so, there will likely be different classes. There could be tire rule changes that change everything. There really could be. And we might actually look at changing segments. We might expand the series and do, for example, we might do an Ultimate Street Car Light, like a feeder series, because we have access now to 24 events that are on the Speed Tour calendar, but not all of those events can have us on the road course or on the autocross or everything. So we could potentially pick different segments of our event and feature that segment on a weekend at a track that we've never been to before. We could do we could feature the autocross segment and give our autocross sponsor some real value by going to a track and doing nothing but that autocross at that event.
Yeah.
And giving our drivers a chance to come out and just kind of more of a test and tune sort of thing. It's not for points, but you're coming out and you're performing in front of a bunch of people, and you've got an opportunity to get your car out on track. And it just continues to drive exposure for our sponsors.
Yep.
And for our series when we do that. So that's part of the reason why we partnered up with Corella Motorsports Holdings and Trans Am and SVRA, because they've got some infrastructure, they've got some support that we don't have on our own.
Yeah.
It opens up some doors to potential new sponsors. We're doing an Ultimate Street Car in Australia now.
Oh,
wow. In fact, we're leaving. I'm leaving on the 3rd of February.
Wow.
To go to Australia. I'll be there almost the entire month of February.
Oh man, that's cool.
And we're doing an event in Australia. It's called Australia's Ultimate Street Car. It's Optima Ultimate Street Car Australia. We're doing our this will be our 5th year, but we did it 3 years and then it got interrupted by COVID.
Oh sure.
And we had to take a 2. I don't know if you know, but Australia got shut down.
Yeah.
After COVID for almost 2 years. We couldn't go back for 2 years.
Yeah.
And then when we were able to go back, we had 6 weeks notice that we could go back, open the track and go. So the third event that we did was not great. But last year we did an event there last year and it just exploded. And so now we've got some traction over there. So that's kind of the next iteration of it as well. Is we're doing, we're going to try and put the same model in place in Australia, where we do a single event until we have a demand big enough to then do a series of events, because we work with a group over in Australia that is very similar to FM3 Performance Marketing. They do automotive events in Australia. Mm-hmm. They are kind of our support staff when we go over, and we've got access to tracks in Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne, and that other southwestern city. It's just lost me. I could have rattled it off in a heartbeat, but it's south and west of Melbourne. Like the 5 major cities on the coast in Australia, they all have big racetracks that could support a series of these events if we wanted to do it.
Well, that's awesome.
In Australia.
Yeah.
And the demand is there. It really exploded last year, which was kind of our 4th year, but really only our second big year there because
Yeah.
of the interruption from COVID. We lost all our momentum when we weren't there for 2 years.
Well, there you go. For our Australian listeners, Optima's coming back.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the event this year is February 17th.
Well, it's
Or
coming
I'm sorry,
up.
February 15th in Australia.
Yeah, it's a
so
month
it's coming
away.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why we're leaving on the 2nd. I go over a little bit early. My wife and I are going to take a little bit of time and explore the southern island of New Zealand before we go to the event. But really looking forward to that. And that's another way we're going to expand this series is kind of internationally. We've had some requests to go to Europe. It's a little more difficult to do this in Europe just because of the FIA.
Sure.
Nothing gets done in Europe without FIA sanctioning.
True.
Sure.
And it doesn't matter if you're an HPDE or what. You have to work with FIA.
Yeah.
And man, the costs are just astronomical.
Wow.
The track rental is fairly cheap, believe it or not. You can rent a place like Spa or the Hungaro Ring or someplace like that.
Wow.
Relatively inexpensively compared to like a Coda or a Daytona
Really?
here. But the costs of working with the FIA just make it nearly unachievable.
Oh,
really.
darn. Oh, that's
Does.
too bad. I liked your ideas about a feeder series or something. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Something to get your feet wet, and get a taste of what it's like.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's really neat.
Yeah, take some of the pressure off.
Yeah.
So you're not out there competing against the big boys and girls, your first event out, right? It gives you a little chance to get some confidence and some skill set and be ready to go. So it's something we're really looking forward to.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. And I know that we barely touched on all the things that you do and shoot. It seems like you've got your hands in a lot of different series and events and that, which is awesome. But wow. It's pretty impressive. I don't know how you keep it all straight. I mean, it seems like you're busy every single day with
luckily, I don't have to keep it all straight. I've got a really good staff.
That's true.
Of people that make this go. And honestly, guys, this is the most wonderful staff anybody could ask for, because all of these folks, and it sounds weird when I describe it this way, but every single one of my staff loses sleep over their job.
Yeah.
That's good. That
and
means
you know what?
it's
weird to describe it that way.
Yeah.
But that's how passionate they are about what they do. That's how much they care about our clients, about our participants, and about doing the job and doing it right. Everybody has a level of pride that does not allow them to be ordinary.
Yeah.
And that's how we run all of our events. We don't want them to be ordinary.
I think it
we
shows,
want them
though.
to stand out.
Yeah, your events are so top notch. I think it really shows how much they care, and everybody on your staff that does it. They are really good. So
they are.
That's awesome.
And thank you for the compliments. But it could not be just Wally and I anymore. We can't do it. It's impossible.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the staff that we have could not be duplicated.
Yeah.
It really couldn't be.
That's cool. That is cool. Well, we've kept you a long time, but there's a couple of other things I wanted to ask you.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Okay. First one is if you could drive any three vehicles, and I say vehicles, doesn't have to be a car necessarily, what would they be?
So yeah, that's kind of a unique question. Most people ask you if you could just have one car, what would it be? But you're talking about the little driving experience.
That's right.
Of three. So I will tell you my greatest driving experience, and I would love to do it again. I got to race a semi on an oval track.
That's awesome.
That is really cool.
What kind of semi?
It was just like a day cab, single axle. Okay. I don't know if you guys remember the Big Rig Racing series.
I do.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So I got a chance. There's a literally a 3/8 mile high banked oval, a half a mile from my house.
Oh wow.
It's called Highland Rim Speedway, and it's been here in Tennessee since the 50s, and it still has racing from March through November every Friday and Saturday night.
Love it.
That's awesome.
It is like the small town oval track that everybody talks about, that many of them have closed down, but this one hasn't. Yeah. Well, the owner of this track, he's like a lot of small track promoters. He brings in monster trucks and does all this other stuff, right, to have fun.
Sure.
Yeah.
So he brought in the Big Rig Racing series, And one of my friends in Colorado was the driver in the Big Rig Racing Series. And when he saw they were coming to Highland Rim Speedway, he called me about 3 days before the event and said, "Have you ever driven a semi?" I'm like, "Yeah, I have a commercial license." He goes, "No, on a racetrack." And I'm like, "No, but I did see that the Big Rig Series, and I thought he was going to invite me to come over and watch him race, right?"
Yeah.
He said, "Do you want to drive one?" And I'm like, "You mean, on the racetrack?" He goes, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Well, okay." And now I think he's going to let me just meet him over there and, drive it around the track a couple of times.
Yeah.
Sure.
He said, "I'm not coming to Tennessee. Would you take my seat?"
Oh, wow.
And I was like, He said, "Yeah, the owner of the truck, he drives his own truck. He's got 2 trucks. The owner of the team has 2 trucks. I drive one, he drives the other. I was supposed to be there. My son's coming home from the military, and I would rather stay here. And if you can drive it, it would really do me a favor."
Wow.
And I'm like, "Yes." But my mind is, my mouth screamed yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my mind said, "What the hell are you doing? I've never driven a semi on a racetrack."
What am I,
I've
getting
driven
into?
a semi because we own them and I have to move them occasionally, but I don't drive.
Right.
You don't even drive them over the road.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a funny story too, and I could tell you another half an hour story about that because I didn't even know how to move the thing when I got over there.
Oh,
The
my
owner's like,
gosh.
"Okay, get in and take it out," and I'm like,
Huh?
"Excuse me,
Yeah.
I don't even know how to start it." So
Oh, gosh.
turns out that I put the truck on pole.
Wow.
In the qualifying series, just by sheer luck. I mean, don't get me wrong. I was not a skilled semi-truck driver, but the way their qualifying worked, I ended up putting the truck on pole.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily for me, the owner's truck broke in the last qualifying session. So he's asked me if I would step aside because he's in a points battle.
Sure.
Yeah.
And he says, "Would you mind? I really need the points." And I'm like, "Dude, it's your truck.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You jump in there." And I got out, took my race suit off, and went and sat in the stands. Turned out there was this massive wreck
Oh.
in the race, and a truck actually came out of the track,
Oh, no.
almost into the grandstands, shut the whole thing down. Luckily, nobody was hurt,
Wow.
That's
but it
good.
made national news.
Wow.
It literally made national news. I was not involved in that wreck, but I was in that race.
Yeah.
I was in that race that night, so that was kind of fun.
Yeah, the
But
whole
a fun
time you're feeling
experience.
like, thank goodness I wasn't on the track.
Yeah.
And then I was, yeah.
Yeah.
It was chaos when that truck came out of the track,
No
but
doubt.
nobody got hurt. Luckily, it was a story on the national news, but at the end of the day, all's well that ends well.
Wow.
It's just a good story.
Yeah, it is.
So I would do that again. That would be one. That would be one that I would drive.
Okay.
I would like to drive a tank
There you
sometime.
go.
Yeah.
I have a
Yeah.
buddy that's getting out of the military, and he drove a tank. My wife used to work at NATC, which is the national something testing grounds in Nevada, and she's
Amazing.
she's a rocket scientist. She really literally is a rocket scientist,
Wow.
and she's an engineer, and she was working out there at the testing facility. She got to drive all kinds of cool things.
Oh, man.
Out there, and especially a lot of military vehicles that they do a lot of testing on out there. So, but I would like to drive a tank, and not just any tank. I want to drive one of those tanks that goes like 60 miles an hour.
Yes.
Like an M1.
There you go.
Yeah, Abrams.
I don't know the names of them, but I've seen them on TV.
Yeah.
And that to me looks like a very empowering experience.
No doubt.
Yeah.
to drive a tank 60 miles an hour. The other vehicle that I would really like to drive, and I haven't, and I could probably get a ride if I wanted, I would like to drive a Pro 4 a Pro 4 truck
Oh, trophy
in like
truck.
King of the Hammers, like a
Oh,
trophy
King of-
truck.
oh.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
In a
okay.
King of the Hammers type race.
Gotcha.
Cool.
Okay.
Okay.
They'll
Wow.
only do
I've
about
had-
100 miles an hour
Yeah.
in the desert.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
once they hit
and
the
the shock
rocks, they'll still
travel-
do 40.
Yeah, and it's like the shock travels like 30 inches, right? I rode in an Ultra 4 rock crawler buggy and we hauled ass across the desert. And I'm not kidding, we were going like 80 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And this thing is just walking through big holes and everything else, and it was a really smooth ride. And I thought, man, that is fabulous. But if I could get in a trophy truck and just, beat the snot out of it, I think I would just really enjoy that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
I have a Ford Raptor.
Oh, yeah.
My Ford Raptor is my daily driver. I've got a Gen 1 Raptor
Good choice.
as my daily driver.
With the 6.2?
Yeah, it's a good choice as long it's got a 6.2, yeah.
Nice.
And as long as you're not buying it for the gas mileage, it's a great choice.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I just love that truck. I love how it rides. I love the whole kind of spirit behind that truck.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'd be the third one.
That's awesome.
On that note, do you think it was detrimental to Ford when they went to the 3.5 turbo instead of with the V8 in that truck?
Yes, I do. And I will tell you, my Raptor has 171,000 miles on it.
Nice.
It still looks great. I take care of it. It looks great, but it has 171,000 miles on it, and it's still worth about $30,000.
Yeah.
Because it's a Gen 1 6.2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got lucky. I got one of the electric blue ones, and they're very rare.
Yeah.
In the blue color, there's a lot of black ones and white ones and gray ones, but the red ones and the blue ones were the most rare, and I got a blue one.
Cool. Nice.
So it's holding its value, and there's not a day went by in my life that I thought a vehicle with 170,000 miles on it would be worth anything.
Yeah, no doubt.
Let alone that, but so yeah.
That's
But I do believe the 3.5. I had an F-150 with a 3.5 in it that blew up at 112,000 miles.
Yeah.
Timing issue.
So I don't think it's as reliable. Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, I have a family member who has one that's starting to go out on that, and I'm like, yeah. I'm like, we should throw a 5.0 in there.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. So when I talked to you at SEMA, you had mentioned that the only project car you have right now is one that your wife has, correct? What car is that?
Yes. My wife has a 69 Boss 429 Mustang.
That's
yes.
right. That's right.
So much yes.
Yeah. Such a great car.
There's so many things to love about my wife. I mean, she's pretty. She put a set of brakes on her Miata yesterday.
Nice.
By herself.
Cool.
She drives in the Ultimate Street Car series.
That's awesome.
She just bought a 2024 Harley Davidson Street Glide.
That's awesome.
That she rides. So she and I ride Harley Davidsons, and she's learned how to tournament fish with me out of my bass boat.
Wow.
And so,
Oh, nice.
I mean, I am not kidding you. I hit the lotto.
Yeah, you did.
When I got my wife, and she literally is a rocket scientist. She graduated with a degree in aerospace engineering.
That's not intimidating at all.
Well, I questioned. I don't question her smarts, but I question her judgment. She married me.
Yeah.
So,
that's awesome.
But she's wonderful, and
cool.
she has a 69 Boss 429 Mustang. In the plum color, whatever they call that color, the purple one.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a legit Boss. I had it verified. It is legit. Her goal, though, is not to do a numbers matching concours restoration. She actually wants this. She actually wants to build it to drive.
Yeah.
Wow. That's impressive.
And she's very smart, and she understands that she can't cut it up because it loses all its value if you cut it up.
Yeah.
Right.
But she can build a very nice car into a nice driver without really cutting away any of the important pieces, right? And then you can just, if somebody really wants to, they can put the important pieces.
So it'd be
back
kind of like
on
a semi-resto mod, kind of.
Resto mod is kind of how I would describe it.
Okay.
Yeah. Is it a runner now, or is it pure project? Not a runner.
No, it's pure project, and it's been pure project for quite a while. I think she acquired the car in like 1989, and has been carting it around with her since then, kind of picking up pieces here and there, but we haven't worked on it since we've moved down to Tennessee. It's in storage, and we've got plans, and I'm very project oriented. It's how we do our business. It's just how my mind works. And I said, look, we're not going to start on this thing until we have a plan. Then we'll have a budget, and then we'll save up enough money to get you. I told her, I said, when we're 3/4 of the entire budget we have saved and in the bank, then we can start the project.
There you go.
Because that way we can keep it going, and then while it's being built, we'll accumulate the last 25% that we need, and then we're done when we're done.
Nice.
So, but that project, when we do it, we're not going to let it take 5 years. That'll be, we've got an 18-month project window that once we start, it'll be done
That's
in
cool.
18 months. So
No, that's
yeah,
good.
a little bit of planning goes into that, but I think it's the only smart way to do one, because man, if you build a car and don't have a great plan, you can wear out quickly, and that's why there's so many undone projects.
Very true.
Untitled projects laying around, right?
Yep, a lot of untitled car projects out there, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to question number 2. What 3 cars would you really like to own if money's no object?
If money was no object, the first car I really want to own is a 1969 Cougar Eliminator.
Ooh.
Oh wow!
Okay. And that's not a really expensive car, but it's something that when I was growing up, I really always wanted. It's one of the things that I've always wanted that I don't have yet. I tried to buy one before I bought the AMX, and it was kind of junk, so I didn't buy it, and I ended up buying the AMX instead, which, quite frankly, was better for my career and my fame.
As it turned out.
As it turned out, yeah. But I would really love to have a Cougar Eliminator. I just think they're sleek, they're cool cars, and you do a little bit of pro touring to it, lower it down, and put a little wider wheels and tires on. It's a great looking car.
Yeah.
Cougars
are awesome. Yeah, I agree.
They are. Yeah. Man, I didn't think this question was going to be as difficult as it is.
It's a hard one.
Because
it is.
I don't, there's not, quite frankly, there's not a lot of things I really want. I've been so lucky to drive so many cars. When I was restoring cars and building cars at Imagine Motorsports, we specialized in investment grade restoration. So I had the opportunity to drive such rare,
great stuff
cars and really cool cars, historical cars. I drove a Holman Moody Cobra, a 429 Holman Moody Cobra.
Wow.
Just really cool things that I've had an opportunity to drive. And what I figured out was that the myth is greater than the reality in many of those cars.
Yeah.
And so, they're awesome to look at, but which ones do I want to own?
Yeah.
Honestly,
not many of them.
Probably not many of them. Really, I have really what I really want right now. I honestly don't want for anything.
No, that's pretty.
I've got a Harley Davidson Road Glide, and I love that motorcycle.
Yeah,
I love it. It's kind of a pro touring motorcycle. I take it out on the twisties. It's like, did you guys ever watch bagger racing?
Yeah.
So my Harley is kind of set up in a style of bagger racing.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I've got racing boards on it and grips and a lower windshield and I love that thing.
That's awesome.
So I don't know that there's anything else that I really want to have. I drove my friend's C8 Corvette. But that seems like everyone says that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great driving experience.
Yeah, I agree.
Once you get into a Z06, though.
Yeah. Well, I drove
a Z06.
Yeah, I haven't driven the base. I drove the Z06, and I quite liked it.
Yeah.
I quite liked it too, but I just felt like it was the easy button. Because I drove my AMX on a track with manual brakes, and it did have power steering, but short wheelbase, manual brakes, and that car you had to drive. I mean, you literally, it was a whole body experience.
That's legit. That's no joke. A lot of the newer cars are pretty darn easy to drive, especially if you're going to compare it to something out of the 70s or late 60s.
But it was fast. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Is it fast?
What?
But I feel like everybody would tell you they want a C8 Corvette, and I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
I will tell you that my bass boat, driving my bass boat at 70 miles an hour on the water is
that sounds
quite
scary.
an experience.
Yeah.
It's not as scary as you think, but it's cool. It's fun.
Yeah.
My bass boat it's an old Bass Cat Cougar, so it's kind of like the Corvette of bass boats.
Yeah.
And it's got a 250 on the back of it, and it'll do 80 on the water. Man. I don't go 80 in it, but that's fun. Yeah. And I enjoy driving stuff like that. So I'm going to tell you that I have in my possession everything I really want to drive. I love my Raptor. I've had it for 6 or 7 years now, and I have no plans to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Love my Harley. Love my bass boat.
That's awesome.
I do have an Acura TLX. That's a daily driver that we take to the airport and pick up our friends for dinner. Yeah. But that's it. We've had that car for like 5 years, and it only has, I don't know, like 12,000 miles under or something.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of dumb.
That's admirable,
But,
though. You've got everything you want. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong
I'm really
with that.
blessed, guys. I
Yeah.
really am. I've been very blessed in my career and to do the things I want to do, to meet the people that I've met and to have the relationships that I have with all of the people that run our series and all the people within the industry. And, I'm you guys gave me a call and said, hey, you're interesting enough. We want to have you on our podcast. That's flattering. It
cool.
really is. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's admirable. I love that. So, all right, I'll ask you the really tough question.
Oh, this one stumps a lot of people.
It does. It's a hard one. What car is a hard no? Somebody's going to hand you the keys, and you just have to say, no, thank you. Don't want
Can
it.
I list more than one?
Yes.
Because I have
Yeah.
two.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
I have two.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
No, I have three, actually.
Oh,
I have
I'm getting
three.
good.
Oh, I'm excited.
So I have three.
Okay.
So hard no on any Saab, period.
Okay.
Any Saab, no. Hard
Nice.
no.
That's a first. Okay.
Pontiac
Don't want the
Aztec.
two-stroke.
Hold on, wait
No.
a minute. I think they make
Oh.
tanks.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Oh, yeah, but they probably don't make the tank that goes 60 miles an hour.
No, probably not.
no,
probably not.
Yeah.
So hard no on any Saab car.
All right.
Hard no on a Pontiac Aztec. I just don't want to be seen in
Oh,
that.
I love it.
Yes.
I love that. That's so
And
amazing.
a hard no on a 66 Chevrolet Corvair.
Ooh.
Oh.
Would not drive it.
Why
Really?
the Corvair?
Now,
That's
wait a
the
minute.
first.
Why specifically the 66?
Yeah.
Because I had one.
Okay.
I
Okay.
had one time, and I had it in high school.
All
So
right.
in high school, you're trying to be cool.
Yeah.
Right? And you are not cool in a 66 Corvair.
I
You are
suppose
really
that's
not. And the
true.
one I had was so rusty, you could see literally through the car.
Ah,
Both quarter panels on the back were rusted. I mean, I'm not kidding. When I
Yeah.
say you could see through it, you literally could.
wow.
It was horrible.
Your
The
dad buy
floors
that
were
for you?
rusted, but my dad did buy it for me. And he said, if you want to drive this, I got it. And I don't know, he paid like $50 for it, and
Yeah.
it needed brake lines, and those are air cooled. They're really simple to fix. The
Yeah.
motors in those cars are very simple. It's like a glorious Mustang or a glorious Volkswagen. I mean,
Yeah.
but it's a horrible car.
That's amazing.
I know Yanko built them into race cars, and they were very neutral as a sports car. But man, I got made so much fun of in that car. I will never set foot near one
That's
ever
awesome.
again.
Bad memories. Bad
Hard no.
memories. Yeah. Hard no.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like
three.
the Aztec. I like the Corvair.
Yeah.
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 That's
Saab.
awesome.
Yeah, that's good.
Super
It's a good list.
It is a good list. Jimmy, thank
Yeah.
you for taking so much time. I mean, this has been amazing.
This has
Love
been
the stories.
awesome
Love
having you on.
the background of Optima and LS Fest and FM3 Performance Marketing is amazing. I really want to thank you for coming on the show.
Gentlemen, it's been my pleasure. Really, it has. Thank you for inviting me, and I wish you guys luck, and I hope that people listen to this podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. Us too.
I really do.
Yeah.
But I think what you guys are doing is really cool. Thanks for having me on.
I really appreciate it. And we will look you up when we make it to Optima and LS Fest.
Yes.
Please do. Anytime you're anywhere I am, let me know, and we'll shake hands and say hi and maybe have a beverage.
Sounds good. I appreciate it. Thanks again.
All right,
Thank
guys.
you.
Have a
All
good
You're
night.
welcome.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
That was really awesome.
That dude
That
is
was a
so
good show.
good. So cool. Wow.
100,
So much more information than I expected.
Yeah, but
118 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
2 hours for that.
Right at the 2-hour mark. for
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's crazy.
I think he would have kept going.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so there's so much more there. I think we could have Jimmy on the show again
I think
at some
so too.
point.
Because there's a lot of stories. I want to hear more
So
about the.
much.
He's like, I could go another half hour
Oh,
on that
yeah.
semi truck story. I'm like, ooh,
Yeah.
oh, there's
Absolutely.
that's a teaser.
Yep. Absolutely. No, I like him a lot.
Yeah.
That was really good. Wow. I'm just like kind of in shock just about how in depth, more information, like I said, than I thought we were going to touch on.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a whole list of questions that we didn't even touch because I'm just like, nope, not it. Can't do it.
Same.
We'll be
Lord, we
talking
didn't
for
need
5
another
hours.
hour.
Oh, easily.
That's the best because now
It is.
hopefully we can get part 2 at some point and and especially as the year goes by, we'll be at those events
Yep.
and gain more stories.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
You want to talk about sleeper cars?
Sleeper cars.
Yes.
Grant, I
made
want you to define sleeper cars for us.
I want to hear his definition.
My definition
Exactly
of a sleeper
right.
car?
Yep.
I feel like a sleeper car should be something that doesn't catch the eye, that just blends in with traffic. That
I can agree with that.
it just, if you're walking down the street and it's a row of cars,
So you've got a Toyota Corolla. You're in a sleeper car.
something like that.
There's got to be more to it, though.
What do you mean?
Everything blends in.
Yeah, no,
But okay, I guess
gotta
that
be
would
fast.
be that. Yeah,
There
I
you
guess
go.
it blends in, but yeah, it has to be fast.
But it's
it
got
has to be
performance.
It has to be the performance that nothing on the street will touch it.
Well, or at least gives it a good run.
Good
right?
run,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
good run for its money.
Yeah.
I got a
And
list.
it doesn't have a coffee can exhaust on it.
It doesn't have any
something
good
stupid.
giveaways that it's a fast
Okay.
car.
Okay. Good.
So
giveaways. Yep.
if you pull up next to that C8 Corvette
Oh yeah.
and you give him a run for his money in whatever it is that you're
That
driving,
doesn't look like it should.
and
Yeah.
you pull up next to him at the light and he's like, how the fuck did you keep up with me?
Yeah.
That's
a
a sleeper
sleeper.
car.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. When you run light to light in against a C8 and maybe you're in a Ford Fairmont, that's a sleeper car.
Right.
Yeah. 'Cause
Right.
You're like, what just happened?
So did
How?
Yeah.
So did you guys make a list?
I did.
I did too.
I did not.
What?
I did not.
We had homework.
You failed the homework
did.
assignment. You're fired.
Now, I have one.
Okay, there you go.
Two that I really think are sleeper cars.
Okay.
All right,
And
Well, let's
I-
start with that then.
Yeah.
I sent one to you guys last week, and I think we talked about it.
Okay. What is
Okay.
it?
It was that. It's an old cop car. What the fuck is it?
Caprice?
Yes.
Or Panther.
Yeah.
No, I think it was a
It was
Caprice.
Panther platform.
So that is actually one of the cars on my list. Similar.
Yeah.
Chris Mayo from High Octane Dads has a Caprice.
Yes.
Yeah, I see this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
He's
and,
got the LS. I think he said he has an LS3 in that.
One of our friends, Brian, had one. Brian.
Yeah.
No, he had
House.
a Taurus.
SHO.
No,
No, it was the cop
was a
car. It was
Caprice.
a cop car.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't
It
a
was
Caprice.
a Caprice.
No, it was a what's the? It's Taurus, right? Is that?
Oh,
the-
Crown Vic?
Crown Vic.
Thank you.
Okay, he
Crown
had a
Vic.
Crown Vic.
Yeah.
That's another one.
That is one.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
his had a manual transmission.
He swapped it with a TR3650.
He's the guy that came out to Autocross pretty
Yes,
often. Yeah,
yes.
yeah. I know
Yeah.
who that is.
That car was so modified. I mean, to give you
was
an idea
cool.
of on the sleeper that was, it was a solid axle, but he had cut the axles enough and re-welded them where the axles actually have play inside of them. So we got a half a degree of camber out in the back.
Wow. That's seems risky, but
Yeah.
okay.
So
No, that car was definitely a sleeper.
The
Yeah.
second one,
Yeah.
back in the 80s.
Did you just come up with this off the top of your head? Because you just said you had one.
No, we say it.
No, I said I had two.
Oh, okay. Sorry,
So
missed that.
the second one, back in the 80s, they had a Granada, the Ford Granada.
Yeah,
I semi remember that. I don't.
it's like a Mustang kind of looking thing, but
Kind of
not.
looked like a
Oh, okay.
Mustang, was a little bit uglier.
It's like
Okay.
the front end's a Mustang and the back is like a saloon car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
It came with a 5.0.
all right.
Yeah.
Not all of them, but
Yeah.
they had the option for
Yeah.
a 5.0.
Yeah.
That thing you wouldn't expect
Uh-huh.
like to eat anything alive,
Yeah.
and it would regularly.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Okay. All right.
So we're talking about cars that we want to turn into sleepers, correct?
No,
Okay.
just your.
You can.
Yeah, you can.
I've
but
got-
just your vision of a sleeper or what might come
So,
factory as a sleeper.
First one I was thinking about, I thought about this a lot today,
Okay.
is you all know what the Prius looks like, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, the shape.
Unfortunately,
Which
we
one?
do, yes.
Not the first gen.
Okay.
The one that came after, because the first gen was like only a single year run.
Second, third gen.
Second, third,
Yeah.
whatever. I think that would be an amazing sleeper car because it is one of the most aerodynamic cars on the road, and you would not expect it to be.
Okay.
And I think one of the ways also to make it like
How would you make it a sleeper? Like, what would you
Well, 'cause-
do to modify it?
people put Hellcats in them.
People
and-
put all kinds of
And,
stuff.
yeah, and I think that'd be a clear giveaway for it.
That's the problem.
I think what would make it amazing is you put a Tesla drivetrain into it because everyone expects
Well-
quiet and whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
The same design because it's got batteries inside of
Right.
it.
Right.
and that thing will
not
take.
the same batteries.
Well, I'm saying is
No.
like there's the same location where you could
But-
put batteries.
Motor capability much more than it has now, but it would be quiet, so you wouldn't really
But
know.
you put two
So, I
batteries
get
or
what
two
you're
two
getting.
motors into it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
you put the dual motor drive.
dual motor drivetrain into it.
You'd
I
have
get
to
it.
And it's
add more
gonna act
batteries.
like a little quiet town car goes
Right.
through, and then just hammer like no one's business.
Yeah,
and
Yeah,
be
that would
like
do it.
an Italian car killer.
yeah. That would do it.
Yeah,
Because I thought of like just looking around at what's on the roads. You see 10 zillion Teslas, but everybody knows they're fast.
exactly.
That's not a sleeper. Everybody
No.
knows they're freaking fast.
But you see a Prius and you think, it's a slow, economical car.
Right.
That's I think the key.
Yeah.
That's what I was like,
I think
okay.
you're right. Okay. I can buy that. Yeah, yeah. Are we going back and forth here?
Let's go back and forth.
Okay.
I got a few, but
So one of mine's is who?
Mine's
what am
is-
I?
one of
What am
mine's-
I?
One of
What am I,
mine.
Letterkenny here? What's going on? A Chevy SS.
Okay.
okay.
Now
No, wait.
they're a
which
little
one?
more well known, like the Holden.
Okay.
Oh,
it's
you-
similar
okay.
to a Caprice, but it comes factory with a bigger motor, right?
Okay, so you're not talking about the Colt.
Not like an Impala SS.
Yeah,
But a Chevy
what I was
SS.
thinking
A
of.
Chevy SS. So
Okay.
it's a newer model. Shoot, when did those early 2000s, right?
Like 2004,
2004 or
6,
5.
something like that. Yeah.
That's kind of a stock sleeper. Like it's a fast car.
Yeah.
But just to see it, and especially if you don't know cars, just to see it on the road, you wouldn't realize that thing puts down some serious time.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a pretty decent stock sleeper car.
Mhm.
You wouldn't even really have to build it. So I don't know. I thought that was a good
I
choice.
think it's a good one.
Yeah.
So another
Hold
one.
on, hold on.
Okay.
You said back and forth. I'm going again.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I had a buddy 20 years ago that had a Dodge Neon.
Okay.
Okay.
You wouldn't think it, but this car was quick.
Don't say that.
It was quick.
Don't say that.
It it was turboed, and it was an absolute killer.
So did it have the SRT turbo in it?
Yes,
You
So it was
can't.
stock stuff.
it was quick.
You can't say that. You know why?
I can, and I
He
did.
did.
You know why though?
Because you had one.
No, because
Is
that's
that one on your list?
because that's the same engine you could put in a PT Cruiser.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fine. It was still.
You have to
quick.
have the cowl on the hood, though. That's a super sleeper.
That could be another
But
one.
no,
you
and
know?
it's true. The PT
Not that
Cruiser,
you'd want to drive it.
as much
but-
as
No,
you rag
I wouldn't
it,
want to be seen.
as much as we rag on that car, that is one that is a sleeper. And I will give you that.
I don't think so.
that you.
I don't think it's fast enough to be classified as a sleeper.
Well, if it's
My
built off
Bronco
like that,
could beat it off the line.
I think you put big enough turbo into it. You know,
Okay.
but
All right, go ahead.
all right. One I was thinking that'd be a good one is the Dodge Magnum.
Dodge Magnum. Dodge Magnum.
It's an all-wheel drive.
300?
No, Dodge Magnum is the
It's a station wagon.
station wagon.
right? Yeah.
Okay, all-wheel drive, and they did come in a
Had a
5.9, 5.7 liter V8 and a 6.1.
Oh.
But either the 6.1 was rear-wheel drive, but the 5.7 was an all-wheel drive still.
5,000 pounds?
Yeah, but you put a blower on that.
Okay,
And-
but,
and-
but,
and
but
they're-
unmodified.
I think they're 4,000. Me and Tony were looking into how much they were.
Yeah.
So if it's unmodified, even still, you got say if they're 4,000 pounds.
I don't know that it's a sleeper, though, because everybody knew that they were, like, pretty fast.
New
you
back
know.
then, but new now. Like if you're talking about now,
No,
it
I think
comes
back
up,
then, even, like, when they came out,
Yeah?
everybody was like, yeah, everybody kind of knew that they were pretty fast because they had big motors in them. They didn't hide that. That was kind of their selling point.
Mm,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So I got another all-wheel drive car.
Okay,
then.
all right.
Let's. Okay, if that one's not the Ford. I'm trying to remember. Flex.
Ford Flex. The
That's
station
huge,
That's
though.
a big old station wagon.
That thing was
No.
huge.
Not huge.
No,
You're talking about
those
the
things
station
are
wagon,
freaking
right?
Huge.
Oh, yeah, no, they're a box.
Yeah, it's a box.
Oh, yeah.
No, they're not huge.
They're three
No, they're
rows
pretty big.
Not
seating.
3 rows.
Yes,
Yeah,
they,
they are.
are.
1, 2.
Yeah,
okay,
they
they're
are.
3 rows.
Yeah.
Mhm, fair.
Plus dog trunk.
So, well, you guys say it. I was recently working on one.
Okay.
Okay,
They're heavy.
they're not that bad. They've got a 3.5 turbo in them with all-wheel drive.
It's
And
turbo,
that's
3.5
potential.
turbo.
Yeah.
It is potential.
Like
though.
it's already
Kinda wonder.
quick, especially being an all-wheel drive.
Yeah.
But the fact it's turboed, and that means you can throw bigger turbos and more power into it.
Interesting.
You know,
Yeah.
that's a car you would not expect to go.
No,
fast.
you would not expect it to go fast. I don't know factory if it was really fast. It could have been. But yeah, I
Let's
don't
say
know.
Jeremy's Googling some
I'm
stuff.
looking at.
That's fine.
I'm looking at.
All right,
Okay.
so my next one is not necessarily factory fast,
Okay.
It's lighter than I
but
thought it
when
was.
you see
How much, real fast, how much does it weigh?
4,600
There
pounds.
you
yeah,
go.
that's pretty heavy.
Yeah. I mean, it's
but
heavy,
for-
but
Even for a
it's not as heavy.
3.5
as I thought.
turbo is.
Yeah, but making
They needed all that just to get
3.5 back then,
4,500.
making 350 horses.
That's what I'm saying. They needed all that just to get a 4,600 pound car
Now
moving.
you can get that 3.5 from factory. They're making what 450 out of it, and that's what the
That's
factory.
now.
That's now.
Then.
Twin turboed.
Yeah. Well, it's,
Right.
but you can make a
Yeah.
lot more power. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry, interrupt.
No problem. So an older Impala,
Mm-hmm.
like 60s Impala, with maybe an LS, maybe just a small block. But I feel like done right, it's a sleeper because you got quiet exhaust, you're just
Yep.
cruiser, but you get into the power and the thing just goes.
I think some of them came with a big block.
They came with
the
350s. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
thought
the
the SSs came with like a
Oh, I don't know if
390 or
they-
454.
I don't know, maybe.
390s.
It might have been an option. Yeah. But I feel like that's a pretty good sleeper car.
Yeah.
It can be known to be hot rodded, so it's kind of a wash. But if you do the outside right, to where it just looks like a cruiser, right, and then you get into it, yeah, I feel like that's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
So what if you went out and bought one of two things? A Typhoon
That was a
or a Cyclone?
but everybody knows they're fast.
Well, no.
I don't know if everybody now
No,
knows
that's
they're
the
fast.
thing. You
Maybe
pull-
not now.
No, you pull up
Yeah.
with one of those.
I
and the
think
Gen
car
Zers,
guys
they
all
won't
know.
what that is.
Car guys all know.
A real car guy would know.
Real car guys would, but I don't think like a teenager that's in high school would driving daddy's
Yeah,
Corvette or
probably not.
Lambo.
No.
What is this little truck driven behind me?
Yeah. This little truck with a 454. Yeah, those things are cool.
Yeah.
Pretty rare right now, too, I think.
There's one right up the street, and
Yeah.
it doesn't get driven.
No, I
It's
would imagine
sad.
not.
Yeah.
It's sitting on the road growing moss.
Oh, really? Like
Yeah.
it's... Oh.
Yeah.
So I know we said we had 3 we're limited to. I've got 2.
Yeah, be knocking on that door.
I got 2 I want to talk about.
Do it.
Oh, let me do one and then we'll come back to the last one. Okay.
Okay.
Good,
I think
'cause I got
another
one
good
left.
sleeper car, and this is one that you got to modify. But I think both these last 2 cars are ones you have to modify. But I think would be the envision of a good sleeper car.
Okay.
The first one's a smart car. That is a car that is small. That is a city car. You are not expected to go fast, but you put
You're
it.
going to have a hard time modifying it without people knowing, though, because there's no place to
So-
put anything.
The other
There's-
thing is
I hate that car.
they have
but-
a really short wheelbase.
Yeah.
Super
Good
short.
luck keeping the tires from spinning.
So there's a guy that's put a
Well, there's all kinds of
Hayabusa motor.
modifications.
Yeah.
All kinds.
Yeah.
Hayabusas to 350s
but
to
you make
jacking them up and putting four-wheel drive. I mean,
but regardless, it's just like if you can have that car, like that's a car not supposed to be fast.
understood. But then
And-
the whole idea of a sleeper is to not know it's fast.
Yeah.
You put a Hayabusa motor in it, you're gonna know.
You're gonna know because it's loud.
Yeah. It doesn't even, it sounds like a motorcycle. You can't even hide that.
The hard part,
Yeah.
the hard part for that car would be figuring out how to keep the tires from spinning.
Yeah.
Or pulling
Well,
wheelies.
and that's both those have been established because they do make drag smart cars and they do make smart cars. And I'll show you guys videos
God,
later.
I hate those cars.
They're not.
I
that way.
agree.
Fucking hate them.
Yeah.
That might be on my list of never drive.
Never drive. I think you're right.
I think we need to go D'Angelo out one of these
I
days.
know.
then.
I do like the lifted ones.
He's the biggest seller for smart
Smart
cars.
cars,
on the
really?
West Coast, yeah. And the lifted ones I think would be fun to drive.
Yeah, I would probably rock a lifted one.
Yeah.
Might be fun to rally one of those, but I could just see flipping it over too
Do it. Let's
so
do it.
easily.
Let's do a trip one of these days, and like
Yeah.
a weekend trip. All 3 of us in a smart car.
Okay,
Let's go on Turo. Hang on, and we'll
No.
come back and talk about that.
how much are those?
Like $7,000 for a used one.
How about the lift kit and stuff for it?
Like $2,000, $1,500.
Oh, man, that might be a.
I mean, honestly, you can
That
You
get
got room in your garage. You could
you can
build
get
one
a
of those.
manual version. They're
That
mid-engine.
might be an Alaska.
You can
rig.
get a
a four-wheel drive smart car in Alaska.
yeah. You come in, but again, manual. You can get a manual.
Yeah,
They come in gas and electric.
Yeah,
You can get them lifted.
yeah.
there's one lifted
Still
that
hate
drives
those
around down here that actually kind of looks cool. I'm like, I kind of dig it a little bit.
I know if our listeners like that and
Now,
want us to do a
if
journey
we
with,
took those, lowered them, put them on little tiny wide Hoosiers,
Yeah,
and went go-kart racing,
I'm in.
I could get into that.
Yeah, I'm
We
in.
we
That is the only good
we
use for that thing is
have
go-kart
to do
racing.
with a roll cage.
Sure.
We have-
exoskeleton.
we have to do a special episode with smart cars with us. have to
I don't know
now.
who's
You get
gonna.
David
I
to
don't know
set
who's
that
gonna finance that. but
You get David to set
I'll
that up.
finance if we need to just rent one for a weekend or two. I would love to do that just to us to talk about the experience, either how good or terrible it was.
Okay.
All right.
Well, that you're right. That might be good content.
Yeah. All right, Rob. What's your next sleeper?
Have you ever heard of a Buick GNX?
Yes.
No,
That is a sleeper car.
Buick GNX.
McLaren built the
Yeah.
motor.
No, I know. That's the
Oh.
same one for the Typhoon and
No,
the V6 turbo.
the Typhoon has a V8,
I'm thinking of the Cyclone. Sorry, that one.
and is that one is
The
a
same
V6
motor.
turbo?
Yeah.
I thought.
Okay.
the
Well,
Cyclone
anyway,
and the
it's
Typhoon-
kind of an uglier version of a Monte Carlo.
okay.
It's a little more compact. It's shorter and
All black.
boxier. Yeah. Well, I don't know if they made them in any other color. I'm not
All
sure.
they made them was
It was
black.
just black. Yeah.
Well, especially the GNX.
Yeah. That's what
Yeah.
I'm talking about. Is the GNX.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a V6 turbo car.
Mm-hmm.
McLaren built the motor. I mean, talk about a sleeper.
That's the,
Because it was ugly too.
that's the motor in the Lambo.
Which
That
is that the same motor?
It is.
Motor.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I did not know
That's
that.
why I was like, this is gonna be a fast car.
Cast
Yeah.
iron block.
Okay. I didn't realize you had the V6 turbo in it. I knew it was a six.
Well,
It's not turbo.
It's missing the turbo, but I got the superchargers
yeah.
from the later motors to put onto it.
Is it the McLaren built one, or
I'll
is
have
it
to look
the
in-
Buick?
It's the Buick, but it's also been.
Because they put that same.
yeah.
They put a V6 in the Grand
No,
Am.
I know.
Yeah.
I think that's the motor. I thought that was.
I'll
the
have to
motor
look
you had.
into it, but also because the guy hot rod. I know it's got hotter cams,
Sure.
and I'm not sure what else has been done.
It
It's
would
got a
be
different
interesting
head
to look
onto
up
it.
the serial number if you can and see if it's one of the McLaren motors.
Okay.
'Cause that would make that car infinitely more popular.
It'd be a Lamborghini with a McLaren motor with a
Exactly.
Ferrari driver behind the wheel.
Anyway,
the
I
one-
feel like that's a pretty good sleeper.
Yeah.
The one I was thinking of, you'd have to debadge. But back in the 90s, Ford's fastest production vehicle, you know what it was?
In the 90s? The Cobra.
Mid-90s.
Yeah, the Cobra.
They didn't make it.
Oh, the GT90.
Nope.
Well, okay. Well,
Well, that one wasn't production.
okay. Are you talking about the Koenigsegg, the early ones? As they had the Ford
That's
motor?
a Ford.
So is it Ford production?
It is a Ford
I'm
production
not-
vehicle.
Probe.
Oh, the Ford Lightning.
The Lightning.
The Lightning.
Lightning
You'd
truck.
have to debadge it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that
they're-
thing's fast.
they're- Oh, for sure. That's a fast.
Do you?
Even debadging it though, because it was more like a sticker package, but
Yeah.
they're pretty recognizable. Just their stance and everything.
Yeah, I mean, they're a little
'Cause
lower.
they're lowered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if they were super low, though. I think they were pretty close to the stock height F-150.
I feel like they were pretty low. And didn't they have
They
kind
had
of a
different
fender
wheels.
flare? Yeah.
I feel like the Lightning is a sleeper, like the Dodge SRT10's a sleeper. Like both are truck and truck looking,
Yeah.
but like
Yep.
you know it's got the motor. You can hear it coming.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
set up that way.
That Lightning was fast. That
Yeah.
It
was a
was
fast
quick
truck.
as shit.
Yeah.
I think the second gen Lightning was faster. The one in the 2000s that had the Ford GT motor in it with the blower,
Yeah.
but still,
Still.
it's not as good looking as the first one though.
Yeah.
I wish, on a side note, that Ford was actually developing at the time of the first Lightning. They were developing the Thunder. The Thunder.
What would it have been? Would it be a truck?
It'd
or
have
would
to
it
be a car.
You'd be a car. You get
No.
thunder
You
and
get
lightning.
clap.
No,
You get the clap.
it was. It was the Expedition.
Oh, yeah,
Expedition
that
was
would've
the
been
thunder.
Yeah, there's a whole documentary about it. But
So you
yeah,
could-
they were
You could
building
tow your lightning with thunder.
exactly.
Or
So,
your Thunder with
but yeah,
lightning.
the problem they got with it is production years because they had it, they developed it, but it was only being built for 2 years. But the vehicle was going through a 3-year run. If it had a couple more years, then they would have been able to build it, put it into production.
Yeah.
So that was one of the reasons they couldn't get to it.
Interesting.
Yeah. All right, I got another. So this one I think is the future of sleepers that we'll see,
Okay.
and the future sleepers. You know,
All right.
and I think realistically, what we'll see in probably the next 10 years or so.
Hold on. If you say electric cars, we're going to electrocute you.
No,
We put
No.
put probes in
No,
your
no.
chair, and we're going to hit
No,
this
no.
button.
We're talking sleep. We're talking about something you see every day.
Okay.
Something you wouldn't expect.
And we see them every day.
I think it's going to be Kias and Hyundais.
No.
Those are sleep. Dude, you see one, you think they're fast?
I think
Okay.
he's semi right.
So the Kia
because of the tuner
Stinger?
world and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, they make those cars are friggin' quick. The problem with them right now, being quote unquote sleeper, is the people
Drivetrain.
that modify them want everyone to know that they're modified, so
Yeah.
they put some
Yeah,
stupid, ridiculous
that's right.
loud exhaust on it.
Yep.
But if they built that car and it was quiet,
Yep. No body kit,
Okay.
no lights.
Exactly.
Which car?
I don't know. I'm
any
just,
of the tuners. Any
But
of them.
I mean,
It's the
the hold on,
Yeah.
the what's it called? The Veloster is not fast.
No.
The Stinger could be,
Yeah.
but I think everybody knows that
I mean,
that's a turbo car.
even earlier Honda.
Well, even with the
or-
turbo, it's still pretty slow.
Yeah. I was gonna say even earlier, like Kias and Hyundais. and
It's
stuff like that.
that Stinger, even modified, is not going to pull up next to,
You know,
your C5 Corvette.
here's the-
and
here's
give it a
swap it.
run.
Here's the thing. You would
I don't know.
I would guarantee you'd say the same thing 10, 15 years ago about Honda, about Toyota. And look where they're
Well,
at.
they're
If a
still
Honda
not.
pulls up and it's got a laptop sitting in it, I mean, come on, that thing's going to be quick.
Okay.
But I still don't
Most of them
think.
look like they're going to be quick too.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably still going to get beat by that C5, C6 Corvette.
The better ones.
That's stock.
the base ones, maybe not.
But
Maybe not.
what I'm
I
saying,
don't know.
what I'm saying is, doesn't matter if it's gonna be beat. That the fact is, like, those Hyundais and Kias are the cars that blend in now. That we see them everywhere.
Yeah, no,
And
I see what
someone's gonna get
I
them
agree.
to where they're gonna be fast. Doesn't matter if that are gonna beat it. Not everyone is.
I think
that's
there's
the whole
potential
point of
there.
building.
Yeah, that's the whole point of the
to
sleeper.
build
right?
a sleeper.
Yeah.
900 horsepower, 1,000 horsepower that no one would expect.
You're not going
Yes,
to get
I
900 horsepower out of a freaking Hyundai motor.
It doesn't have to be a Hyundai motor.
Yeah,
it's
no,
the,
it doesn't.
The car itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm on your side on this one. I agree.
Yeah.
If you're
I think
putting
it
in a
could
different
happen.
motor, okay, I could
Yeah.
see.
You
that.
motor swap it. You put some electric motors in it too.
With a big
You know,
turbo.
Super sleeper. It looks, doesn't even have tinted windows. You're just driving along, whatever, in your base little car.
Yeah.
But the thing can put down, 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. Things are quick.
Puts 9 down the quarter mile.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's where I think the future is going to be. Is the cars that we're seeing now that just blend in. The cars we're not even naming.
Right.
That's what's going to be the sleepers coming up.
Potential.
Yeah.
That potential is there. Yeah. I could see it. Especially with the integration of electric motors and stuff.
So I think the same thing with like some of the Volvos or,
Audis.
yeah, but you kind of look at an Audi and you go, that thing's probably pretty quick, right?
Some of them.
Same thing with the BMWs and stuff like that. But like Volvo,
But still, even a BMW or an Audi that looks quick, they're sporty and they're kind of luxury, right?
yeah,
But the more plain it looks, it's not lowered, it's not fancy, doesn't have tinted windows. You can tell the people that take care of the car, and it might be souped up.
Yeah.
Other ones, they've got what looks like a stock exhaust and this and
Yeah.
that, but they come up and they just let it rip, right? Still kind of a sleeper.
Do you guys
A
think...
little bit unexpected. I mean, that's the whole point of the sleeper.
Exactly.
It's a little unexpected.
The one thing I was going to ask you guys is, because technology is going further and new things are happening, could you see CVTs being a huge benefit to sleeper cars?
They're going
A
to have to.
stronger...
Yes, that was going to be what I was going to say. Is they're going to have to improve them, and I think technology and over time they will get better. The idea is pretty good.
Yeah.
yeah.
But
If you
currently,
can,
what the cars that have CVTs are not good.
No.
yeah,
Can't hold
if you can put a car in the power band and keep it there,
Yeah.
and the CVT can just adjust where it needs to go, you goddamn right that it's going to be a fast car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of work needs done to that.
Yeah.
I don't know if, you would think that whether it's aftermarket or whoever's building those, maybe they'll catch up with the idea of these can be better. We can do a better job.
Yeah.
Or they're just mass producing junk and they know it and they don't care.
Yeah.
When it won't
Well,
go
as long as
anywhere.
you have the housing and stuff, like the bands could be adjusted, or would the failure
I don't
points,
know.
the aftermarket find a solution for that.
Yeah,
Yes.
aftermarket might figure something out.
Probably
but just
there first, yeah.
I really think they're building those cars to go 100, 150,000 miles
And stop.
and throw it away.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. There's a lifespan, and they know it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if they build them to really last, they're, cutting off their own money stream.
Hasn't the company? I'm trying to think. Isn't someone made an automatic with a non-torque converter that isn't a dual clutch? I'm trying to think where it's like a direct drive. Am I thinking?
Not that I haven't heard of it.
No.
I mean, doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
I'm gonna look into that because if you can get a CVT with a better torque converter or a better system setup than a torque converter, could you imagine the potential you'll have for acceleration off a car like that?
Yeah, we were just talking about that.
Yeah.
If you can put something in the power band
Yeah.
and not have to pull it out of the power
But you're
band,
getting
it there.
rid of like the torque converter, also power loss on that.
Right.
Yeah. I'm fairly positive. Maybe it was Koenigsegg that came up. Some hypercar company came up with an automatic that's not a traditional automatic.
probably.
I need to
It's
look.
not a DCT.
It's not a DCD and it's not a torque converter, but it was something that was like a direct
More of a
drive.
direct.
Yeah,
Huh.
I'll have to look into that.
Yeah.
Remember. Anyways,
I don't know. I'm sure that technology right now, if it exists, is uber expensive.
Oh, yeah.
mm,
I mean, that's why they
But-
hypercar shit
But like I said, you put it in the power band
and leave it there.
and just leave it there.
Yeah. So this weekend,
yes,
I got a
last
call.
weekend.
This last weekend, I got a call from a friend of ours. We'll call him Tim.
Oh, why? Why are we going
'Cause that's his name.
We'll call him Tim.
We'll call him Tim.
Does he have a red Corvette?
Maroon one.
Maroon?
Yeah.
I thought Galloway called you.
He might have too.
Jimmy Galloway.
Jimmy. I didn't say Jimmy. I said Tim.
Okay, that's why. Okay.
Wow.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay. Catching up? Are you caught up?
Now I am.
Are you caught up?
I understand
Okay.
where the story's going. now.
Anyway, he's
Okay.
he's a listener to the show. He has heard that, I was looking for a 71, 72 Camaro.
Okay.
He thought he found me one. I
Okay.
was like, and he'd been communicating with me about this car for a while. And he said he's ready to sell.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right. He's like, you want to come down and see it? And so I was like, yeah, I'll come down. So I went down there on Sunday, take a look at this car.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole drive down there, it's like an hour and a half away. And I'm like, I've got 9 cars or 10 at my house. Something ridiculous.
Welcome to my world.
Something
you don't
ridiculous.
have
I'm
that
like,
many cars.
Grant needs to get this ghost car out of my yard so I have room. It's like, I don't know where I'm going to put this car.
And then the Honda.
I'm going to have to, yeah, I've got the Honda too. I'm going to have to put a car in the trailer. I was like, it's just going to have to live there for a while. Because I was like, going to buy this car.
We could build another shop.
I want to, but I don't have the money for it right now. Anyway, beside the point. Anyway, the whole way I'm just like, I don't know. I really want this car. I don't want to turn it down. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. So whatever. I get down there, and it's his neighbors. So we walk across the street to his neighbors, and we're going out to the shop.
Mm-hmm.
And I see the front of the car, and I'm like, oh, that's not a 71. I'm like, it's a later 70s
Did
car.
you not get pictures of it beforehand?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
No. Anyway, it wasn't the car that I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 78 Camaro, but it's a single owner Camaro.
Mm.
So I look it over really close. The body and everything's in super good condition. The interior is better than most cars of that age.
Okay.
It's not perfect. It needs some work. It needs some cleanup, this and that, whatever. It's got the original motor. It's a Z28. It's doesn't run. Needs a rebuild. It's got the air conditioning package. I mean, it's a well-optioned car.
Mm-hmm.
And to find one, it's a single owner. It's got like 184,000 miles
What
on
motor in it?
it. 350.
Okay.
It's an automatic.
Okay.
But not the car I wanted, but I looked it over really close, took some pictures of it, and sent it to another one of our friends, Jimmy.
There we go. That's
go.
how we got into the story. I
Okay.
was trying to figure because I was like, wait a minute.
Yep.
Okay.
Because Jimmy's got a little collection of Camaros, and I know that he wanted a Gen 2, and that's what this is. And I was like, well, I think I might have a buyer for you. It's not me, but I think I know somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So I sent him the pictures and, told him all about the car, everything I could see on it. And so
Real fast, we should be Jimmy Galloway because
Jimmy
we just had Jimmy.
that is true.
Yeah.
Yep,
Other
that is
Jimmy on
true.
the show.
Jimmy Galloway.
Okay.
Anyway, long story short is I think Jimmy's going to purchase the car.
Whoop.
Whoop,
That's
whoop.
exciting.
It is exciting. Add to his collection, he's got a Gen 3 and a Gen 4, so now he'll have a Gen 2, and it's red.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
That's awesome.
It is awesome. It's a pretty good-looking car. The body's super straight. There's minimal surface rust in the trunk. A little bit of rust underneath, but just like little flaky stuff.
No mold though, correct?
A little bit on the interior.
Ooh, that's tough.
I know. It's
Not
tough.
black mold?
A lot of times it's easy to.
It's
fix
not
that.
super bad. It's
Okay.
not really deep. It was just kind of on the edges of things, and it was like, it's been stored inside, but
Yeah.
you know how moisture gets
Is it
to stuff.
cloth seats or leather seats?
It's the leather seats.
Okay, that's good. Because if the mold had gotten into the cloth,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
that's tough to get back
But
from.
even the carpeting looked really good. Door cards were a little bit rough, but everything's there.
Yeah,
Dash pad's a little bit rough, but everything's there.
yeah.
Overall, a very nice car.
When you saw it, was just like the sigh of relief of, okay, I'm not picking up this car. Was this
A little bit.
disappointed? Like you're like,
Kind
oh,
of, it was both. It was a
Yeah.
mixture because I was like, oh, I really wanted that 71, you know?
Yeah.
Really wanted it.
Little column A, little column B.
a little bit of both. But at the same time, I was like, well, you know, so I looked it over. It's a very nice car.
Yeah.
So I'm happy for Jimmy. Hopefully he goes and picks that up.
yeah.
So that was my thought was spending other people's money.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really good at that. I can, you know, I've always got my eyes open and often somebody's, hey, if you ever find this or if you ever find that, you know, and Tim was trying to spend my money and he probably would have done it if it was the right car. So, so I don't know, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always, I don't know, it's always tough spending other people's money. For me,
I don't have a problem with it.
I mean,
I don't give a shit about
I know,
your
I
money.
I don't know. It's like if it's for another car or something like that, I want to make sure it's perfect because otherwise it's not. Then it means I'm probably going to be working onto it.
Yeah, well, there is that.
You got to quit doing that.
Yeah,
It's not.
He's too
once
nice.
somebody else buys it, it's not your
Yeah,
problem.
it's not yours anymore.
yeah.
Yep. Well, the only other thing that we may touch on tonight was the ZR1. We talked a little bit about that. Grant and I did during the week. Pricing came out or something on the ZR1, right?
Ooh.
It's like 180,000 base,
175,000.
79 something. You want to do project cars?
No, I'm just showing if that's an unbelievable find.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean.
Well, we'll touch on that
Yeah.
one after this.
Okay. Performance-wise, for a Z,
But I saw another one. I don't know what the packages can get up to, right?
okay,
I saw one that was 189,000, and that could just be a higher
they have
dealer
build lists
markup.
out that you can have now.
I don't know
Okay,
because
So-
I didn't research it.
Okay.
You know, I just
So
saw a couple of
the
different.
big announcement is the ZR1 has been announced. So for our listeners that aren't super well informed on this one, we have the base model C8 Corvette at 495 horses, which is a lot for the price you get starting at 50,000. And I'm saying starting because
Strip
dealer
down
market
base.
exactly. Okay, you have the Z06 package, which adds a.
Isn't there a package in between there?
Yeah, I think there's a Stingray.
No, well, okay.
Stingray
So
is the base,
The,
I'm
the
pretty
C
sure.
the
Is
C8
it?
base Corvette, the C8 base Corvette has 3 levels of trim that goes onto that, which
Okay.
I believe it's still all a Stingray. It's the LT1, LT2, and
There you go.
LT3,
There you go.
and each one of those are different appearance packages, leather packages, whatever, and that adds
Right.
up.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
After that goes to the Z06 package.
Yep.
Z06 package, you can go for an extreme handling with aero, wing, etc., and you bump the engine up to a naturally aspirated 6.6 liter, I think, or 6 liter, 620 base horsepower, 8,250 RPM red limit, flat plane crank V8. Okay, high, essentially Ferrari territory you're getting.
Okay.
And I think supposedly they start at what, 119?
Oh yeah,
120?
I was gonna say
I-
129.
I need to look that one up. It's in the hundreds, but it's low hundreds.
Right.
And for the price you're getting Ferrari
super
level.
car.
I mean, you're pretty much getting a 458 Ferrari. You know,
For
with the
120,000.
reliability of an American car onto that,
Yeah,
and more aerodynamics than most cars on the market. So then they
really
just
a fantastic car.
they announced last year the ZR1. So and they finally gave us a price.
Yep.
So the ZR1 is the Z06 engine, turbocharged, making 1,064 horses
Right.
with extreme aero onto it. That's more aggressive than
It's
the
a gorgeous
Z06.
car. I really like the aero package. It looks
Yeah.
good.
You're talking like if you're talking about what a supercar would look like or a Hot Wheels car would look like, that when you imagine it, that's what this car looks like.
Yeah, kind of.
You've
And
got
I know this is a little bit old news. It's been out for a while, but we were just comparing prices because the prices are published now.
that's
and
the
that
big
kind of stuff.
thing is this car, you're 1,000 horsepower in, factory warranty
Oh yeah,
at
You're
under
sub-
200 grand.
yeah, you're sub 200,000 for a supercar.
Yeah, hypercar. You're talking Bugatti level.
I don't think so anymore.
No?
Everybody's making 1,000 horsepower.
Everyone's making 1,000 with electric motors.
True.
So
Okay.
that's a twin.
It is hard to get past 1,000 with the warranty of all motor
Okay.
right now.
Yeah.
twin
Anyway,
turbocharged 5.5 liter.
5.
Oh, right. Yeah, this is a 5 liter.
Anyway,
But it's
so my point of the whole thing was because before this came out and before the price dropped,
there is one more model, the E-Ray. Sorry,
E-Ray and the
That's the one I was-
Zora,
Zora's coming out.
right?
Yeah,
which
but
is a combination of whatever.
it's the combination of the ZR1 plus the E-Ray combined. So you're getting
Yeah.
the ZR1
Yeah,
with the all-wheel drive electric motor train of the
right.
E-Ray. But sorry, I didn't mean to.
No worries.
Sorry.
So the C7
Yes.
ZR1, the prices went through the roof of that car, when the
believe
C8 came out,
Yeah.
because that was the highest end Corvette you could get. It was the newest model. It was still front engine.
Yeah.
I saw one listed for $214,000
hmm
used.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a great car.
I would have one.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Not at 200,000.
I think the only
it's kind of a bummer. I don't know if it's worth that. I get it because it's the last front engine car and it's the highest level trim you can get. But with the C8 ZR1 coming out,
Yeah.
I wonder if that will soften that some. I think it will a little bit.
A little bit.
But at the same time, there are the purists that only want the front engine Corvette.
Exactly.
So that's going to hold that price up there.
Exactly.
I don't think it will ever come down below 180,000 again.
Here's the thing is the ZR1 for the C7, the older model.
Yep.
I feel like its price should be comparative to what an ACR Viper Extreme is. I think those cars
I don't know how much those run.
about 400.
Ooh, I hope it doesn't go there.
They're up there.
No, I'm saying the C7s.
Well, no,
I hope it doesn't go there.
What I'm saying is like it is. Both cars are very comparable. So I'm actually shocked it's not worth more than that. I mean, they did make more ZR1s than Vipers.
Yeah.
And it's based off a more common platform, the Corvette.
Yeah.
But it should still.
I think that's why the Viper's higher end. I mean,
Yeah.
they didn't make nearly the quantity.
No.
It's still based off a pre-used platform. Like there's other levels or trims, I guess, of the Viper, right? So it's a similar situation, but I don't think the numbers are there.
Yeah. But the ZR1, needless to say, is still a very capable car.
Oh, yeah.
It's not going to be like a car that, like, in 20 years depreciates because, it's, all these cars are faster.
Yep.
You would say about the McLaren F1 because all supercars are faster than that, and yet it's one of the most
absolutely.
expensive cars on the planet.
Yeah.
It's because of the look,
iconic
the
stature.
iconic, what it's done,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I don't know. I found it pretty interesting, and that's a car to watch.
Did
right?
they ever make
What's
a-
it going to do over time?
did they ever make a manual version of that car? Or are they all automatics?
I don't believe
Of
so.
what?
Of the ZR1, the C7.
It's DCT.
I
yeah,
don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
they're all paddle shift.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah.
That's the one thing the Vipers got over. It was a manual car,
Yeah, yeah. I don't think they made any of those in the.
I'm gonna look it up real fast because I bet you that would be one of the rarest cars.
Was
on
the
the
C6 the last
Manual.
manual?
planet. No, you can get a C7 with it. There were 7 speeds though. I thought.
The very early ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotta look that up. Don't know for sure.
It'd be interesting.
Yep.
hmm
What was? Oh, you wanted to look at project cars for sale.
Project cars for sale. Hang on
Oh,
one
I
second.
had one.
Get it.
I have one.
Perfect.
Just one.
Okay.
Wow. Hang on. Okay, this is ask.com. For one, the C7 ZR1 is easy service, front engine mounted LT5, but it was also the last Corvette offered with a manual transmission.
It does have a manual.
It does have a manual transmission. There were 100 and
That's my next question. Yeah.
let's see. I think 140 it says?
Oof. That's not
Manual?
very
Hang on.
many.
No, there's not. Hang on, let me check on this one. They're all over places. Or that's man. Yeah. They made a convertible version of it?
Yes.
Wow. Okay, so the convertible version, manual C7 Corvettes, ZR1s, they made 140 of them.
Wow.
That is going to be a
Are they
very
all,
expensive car.
all sold in the U.S. or?
I know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Put that on the collector market because that is going to be.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. 140 of them. Good Lord.
Yeah. So going back to Facebook Marketplace for project cars for sale.
Do it.
This one that just showed Rob, and this we were talking about Camaros, and I was looking. I found one that I thought was actually pretty interesting.
Yeah.
This one is in Tacoma, Washington. 81,000 original miles on it. 1969 Camaro convertible.
Okay.
Runs and drives, bad exhaust. It is rusty, is what it says. And they got a lot of stuff on it, but I mean, it runs and drives. It looks pretty good all there. I mean, it's rusty, but the main bonus is for a convertible, for a first-gen Camaro, they want $19,000 asking.
Well, it's
about right.
Yeah, with it all there.
You think it's about right? I figured that was low for him. I thought a
You think it's low?
I thought Camaro was like 50. Well, I know when they were restored.
No.
Oh, yeah, not a fully restored one.
Yeah, this one looks like it needs some work. And
But it
for
runs
sure
and
put back
drives,
together.
though.
That doesn't matter.
Okay.
I think it does.
Well, I mean, I think if it was a non-running, non-driving car,
Yep.
I think it would have gone
12
down.
grand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that I think it's worth more.
Gotcha. Yeah. Being running and driving, I think 19. Unfortunately for that car, yeah, that's probably right. It's probably right in there. I mean, it's got all the body panels. It looked pretty straight. The paint's no good, but
Yeah.
no, I think that's probably okay.
But it's a
and
good
if you're
base.
if you're in the market for a Camaro, you want to start with the best one you can afford.
That's right.
Yeah. that's
Don't
true.
start with a piece of shit unless that's all you can afford and you really want to do it.
Right.
But
And you got a welder.
my God, you're going to put a lot of work into that.
Because you
Yeah, but
will
you're going
be
to love
one
that
of
car
those
forever,
cheats.
though. Or hate it. One of the two.
You might end up hating it, honestly.
After you're done with it,
Yeah.
and fucking sell it because it pissed you off so much.
Oof. That's rough. All right. Jeremy?
Okay, so the one I have this week.
Yep.
I think I had mentioned last week that I want to do a tow vehicle for at least one tow vehicle every episode.
Correct.
Yes.
I found a 91 GMC Top Kick. I think this one probably needs a new motor because it's only got a 366 gas motor. The Top Kick is the, what would you call that? It's a commercial vehicle, basically, right?
Yep.
This one has a utility box, a crane, a Miller welder, Miller Bobcat welder with a 14 horse compressor. It has torches.
Nice.
Basically all of the stuff. It needs paint, but it is a running vehicle.
That's always a plus.
Yeah, $8,000, and it is in Tualatin, Oregon.
Nice.
I think, honestly, this one, if you were looking for something to tow, it could be a really good base. If it were me, I'd probably start looking for like a Cummins or Duramax or something like that to put in it.
There you go. Think you get it, even with the weight of that vehicle, do you think you'd get better fuel economy with that? Because for a lot of people, that's a thing. Right?
I don't know if you're going to get much better fuel efficiency than you would out of that 366.
Okay.
But I think what you would get is a lot better towing capacity
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
and more options for upgrading the motor if you needed to,
Yeah. Sir Grant?
I hit a car right here that I'm like, don't buy it. Don't buy it, Grant.
Oh,
But
you
this, okay.
Okay.
This one has come up, and I think it's very interesting. When I say you guys are going to be like, of course, but there's a reason behind it. 2005 Ford Mustang GT. V8
2005.
with the manual,
Okay.
so AKA a Liger.
Okay.
164,000 miles, 4.6 in it,
Okay.
for $5,500 with a clean title.
That's not bad.
And the reason I bring it up
title
for
car.
a clean title car, it says it has some cons, had mold in the carpet, blah blah. This would be an amazing car for the spec racing.
Yeah.
Mustang Challenge.
Sure.
If any of our listeners are wanting to get into one, that shows like how cheap you can get these V8s now. This one comes with an aftermarket wheels, tuner, radiators, blah blah. If you're trying to get in spec class, that's all money you can sell to get OEM parts back in there. That are way cheaper than all this aftermarket stuff, and then you recuperate some of your costs. So you can realistically sell this and probably be in it $4,000 and start building a race car from that.
Okay.
Yeah. It's in Portland, Oregon. So yeah. I think it's just a good project car.
Nice.
Right on.
You got one, Rob?
I do.
Okay.
I highlight these pretty often.
Mm-hmm.
Just happen to run across them, and I kind of like them. So Chevy El Camino.
Okay.
This one's a 66.
Nice.
It's older version. It's got a bit of surface rust in the bed and a little bit in the cab, in the interior. So I don't know if you're familiar, the interior kind of behind the seats, it's got like this well space back there. You can throw duffel bag, luggage, whatever, back behind it. So there's a little bit of rust back there, but it's really surface. There doesn't appear to be any holes. So I don't know if you'd need a patch panel or whatever. I guess a little bit of surface rust on the tunnel as well. But all in all, not too bad. It does come with the seats, though there's no carpet on the interior. Door panels are there. No motor. Shoot, I thought there was a motor in it, but apparently there is no motor or transmission. Anyway, so hence the price of $3,200. It's not bad for a decent body. It looks like the door panels are in good shape. They're not rusted out or anything like that. I don't know.
350 is pretty easy to come by too.
Yeah, small block 350,
Yeah.
a couple $100, you're in.
Boom.
Honestly, they're not expensive. You could make a runner pretty quick, but it does add to the complexity of putting it together if you've never done it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. I don't know. I kind of like the El Caminos. I think they're neat projects. Maybe someday I'll have one, but not before the Camaro.
Yeah.
Because, I've already got 10 cars.
I like the El Caminos
Yeah.
also.
So this one's out by Chad. This is in Wichita, Kansas,
Oh,
Okay.
for $3,200.
Maybe C10 guy could go get it.
Oh, there you go.
Chad.
Oh, Chad.
Chad.
You want an El Camino. You don't need another C10. You want an El Camino. 66.
Surprise your wife with something new.
Oh, man. She would be so happy. Especially since it doesn't have a motor. So that was mine for now.
Okay.
But he might have a Chev 350 laying around with all those
Gosh,
C10s,
he probably does.
Mm-hmm.
That would not surprise me a
I know.
bit.
Do you have any more, Jeremy?
No, I said I had one.
I just want to. I don't really. I want to touch on this real quick, which I'm very surprised. I was gonna try to highlight Miata because I remember we talked about Miata's starting to go there where they're at least last year and a couple years ago. A good Miata was like $10,000. They were starting to get up there.
It's
Yeah.
starting to come down again.
I'm looking at the Portland market. There's one for $1,000. There's one for $2,800. There's one for another one for $2,800. There's one for $2,200, $3,000.
Damn,
The
that's
market's starting to come back
four
down.
of them you can get for $10,000 right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't
You're
know.
right. They've dropped a
A
lot.
lot, which is great
that's
because
good.
Miatas are great race cars and great entry level.
They are.
I think COVID drove that up.
Maybe
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
trying
quite
to go on the
possibly.
racetrack and you need the thing. That could be.
Yeah.
But for our listeners, I mean, if it's more expensive in the places you guys are at, and Portland's a Miata paradise apparently, let us know. We'll highlight some of the cheaper ones around here and be like, come and grab them.
You can message Grant directly, and he will get back to you.
Oh, yeah.
That's true. On our Discord.
Yeah, on our disc.
Email him at untitledcarproject.grant@gmail.com.
Yes,
And he will answer you.
it's true. I have that. That is my email.
That is your email. So my last one.
Okay.
1970 Lincoln Continental sedan.
Oh, yes.
70?
1970.
Is that the reverse door?
It is not.
Oh.
It is standard 4-door, but
Okay.
it's already slammed.
Because that looks
Oh,
more like
yeah.
the bad guy car, right? Not like the going out the boys car, right?
What, the 70?
Yeah,
I mean, it's the big old boxy.
big boat.
Yeah,
Yeah, the bad guy
big old
car.
boat. You know, the hood
See
sticks
that,
out in
see
front
that,
of you
Here,
by 12
show
feet,
Germans. Look at that.
something like
Oh
that.
yeah, I
Yeah.
love that car.
Yeah, so it's already lowered. It's kind of cool. It's out in Colorado Springs, Colorado for $4,500.
I feel
Wow.
like the paint needs to be black on that.
It's like the only
yeah,
boats
right
you would
now
find
it's
in
primer
Colorado.
gray.
Yeah.
The interior's kind of a mess. Like I don't know. They've got some kind of seat cover on it, so the original seat's probably messed up.
Squirrels got to it.
Very well could
They
be. You just
probably-
never know.
But if you're looking for a project car,
But this is a project car, exactly. So you're going to have
the
to
body
redo.
looked straight.
The body's straight.
It's got primer already on it, so it's at least almost ready for paint.
Yep.
Just needs the interior.
Let's see. Says he's the third owner. Body's in great shape. Nice and straight. Let's see. Does it run? Interior's outdated. Yes. Power everything. So it's got all power doors and windows and all that.
Nice.
22-inch wheels. He was making a hoopty.
It
or-
didn't look like
got
it
a-
on that though.
It really didn't.
Uh-uh.
So it actually looks pretty good.
Nice.
It's got a 460 big block. Runs and drives. Gunmetal gray. Plasti dip.
Plastic.
Plasti
Be ready to do some plasti dip
Yeah.
peeling. It says it's beige underneath the gray.
How do you get that off?
Peel it. Literally just peel it.
Like flame and peel, or
I don't know. I've never had to do it.
Or,
Yeah.
oof.
Don't know. Anyway, I don't know. It's a pretty decent project. If you're into the big old boat Lincoln Continental, I think it's a pretty good looking car, and it's super straight, and it's got a 460 big block.
Yeah.
$4,500, Colorado Springs.
I found another Countach.
Well, that's what you need.
I'm
We
gonna
need
punch
another
you in
one.
the stomach.
But it's a Lamborghini.
No,
No.
you don't need another Lambo.
Okay, I found a Lincoln Continental with the suicide doors.
There you go.
1962 version.
How much they want?
$15,000.
Yes.
Oberlin, Kansas.
That is one car we'll have in my collection one day.
It's actually show quality. Well, no, the engine bay is not, but it's really straight. And
But for 15,
it's got some rust on the wheel well.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a fixer.
Uh,
It's got the suicide doors.
as long as it's not like too far gone, 15 is probably a good deal for that.
Might be.
Mhm.
Might be. I don't know. I bet you could do better than this one. Anyway,
Probably.
that's all I got for tonight. How about you guys?
Yeah.
That's all I got for now. I there's one car I want to try to find and highlight. We're towards the end of the winter, right?
We are getting there.
Getting there.
Mid-January.
One thing I know that is on the market somewhere
Yeah.
is this is the time of year where guys and girls will get into Cobra kit cars and they don't finish them.
Yeah.
And that's what the best
You
time.
want to pick one of those up?
No, what I'm saying is I've seen them
does.
multiple winners when they're about like 10 grand
Yeah.
for a halfway completed Cobra.
Yeah, honestly, that's the way to pick up a kit car. Is
I need-
buy somebody else's unfinished project.
Yeah. So
I
wouldn't
know
know.
a guy that's got a Lambo.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's almost finished.
regardless though, a Cobra's different. There's a million of them done.
Yes.
And so like if I think on next show I'm going to try to find something about that price range because that's a iconic project car.
Shall we bring only kit cars next week?
Oh, we should.
Okay.
Can we do
It's gonna
that?
Take some. Well, it's going to
This
take
is
some
gonna take some
pre-work.
work,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
going to take some pre-work, but I'm willing to give it a shot.
Okay.
I agree with that. That sounds good.
Put a number.
You know
on
what?
It,
Kind of 3.
3,000.
No, 3 cars.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
care what price it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's fair. I like that.
Yeah. The problem I have with Cobra kit cars
Yeah.
is you just touched on it. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
They're not special anymore.
Yeah. But they're
As soon as you
so fun to drive.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. But when you start going to car shows, everybody's done a freaking Cobra.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
Here's the other problem.
Makes it less special.
They are very different from kit to kit.
Yeah.
They
that's
are.
true.
Agreed.
And
And it depends on who did it and the quality of the kit
Yeah.
to start
I'll-
with. And there's a lot to that. I totally agree.
yeah.
But don't you think it kind of waters it down?
I don't know because
Yeah.
that's the thing is
We
like
did see a bunch of them this year.
we have we?
Yes.
Yeah,
I have.
I think the
Really?
coolest
Seen a shit
Cobra we
ton of
saw the entire year was the 289 The
real one.
legit
The original one
289.
at beaches?
Yes.
So at beaches, though, we didn't see any of the Cobra there.
No,
But every other show we went to,
at SEMA, I probably saw 24 of them.
yeah, at least.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were everywhere.
You just weren't paying attention.
No, I didn't see any Cobras.
Dude, I saw
Shut up.
I'm trying to think.
I saw 4 of them in
Factory
the first
5.
building I was
Okay. True. There was companies based off that, but I'm saying like people who brought their own Cobras.
No, I saw 4 of them in the first building I was in.
Did you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
First
And
building
I didn't
that you went into was
make it all the
Factory
way
5.
through that whole building because I was looking for you guys. I went in, did like a lap around the first half of
Yeah.
the building and came out.
And
And I
There,
saw
there was at least 12 booths that had
I was
going
going to say, in terms of like Oregon and the Northwest, though, I think we have less Cobras than probably the rest of the United States because it rains so much.
Yes. I would
Well,
agree.
we
So
probably
like
just-
around here, it's not
we
as
see them
common.
less. I'll bet there's a lot in the garages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a ton in California and Arizona,
yeah.
though.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. Anyway, I don't know. I guess that's my whole point is,
Okay.
yeah, they're a really cool car. Would I refuse one? No. It's not my hard no car by any means.
Yeah.
They're cool, but there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
So
But there are people who listen to us who that's one thing they want to do.
I don't blame them.
And if you go and buy a brand new one for what, 50 grand with a kid into it, whereas you could pick one halfway up for 10, if you can get through those headaches, then
Wasn't that Factory 5's kit that we did the little video on that's 30 grand for the kit? Now, that doesn't have the powertrain. $29,000 for the full kit.
Actually,
no powertrain.
For the Cobra?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, you're right on that one.
Yeah.
Factory 5 has got that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know, I'm seeing most completed ones, let's just say completed cars and kits for about 50. So even if you could,
Really? Are they 50 grand for a completed one?
about that.
Oh, I thought they were going for more than that.
Some of them do.
It matters
Depends on which
what
brand.
kit it is. Yeah.
Like a Super Performance will go for 90 to 100.
Sure. Okay.
Whereas a Factory 5 is about 50.
Okay.
And then you have some of the knockoff ones that were in the 90s, and those are like 30.
Okay, listeners, if one of you knows someone or has a Cobra kit, you're not counted, Grant. I know
Okay.
you have one.
Ugh.
Give us a call and tell us about it. Or email us and we'll call you.
I'm going to say this. If our listeners, if we have anyone who finished a kit from start to finish,
Oh, I definitely, yeah.
you email us and we will put you on the show. I want to hear everything about that journey on that car.
Yeah. I would really
would
like
be
to
a-
dive
you
into
know.
that. So untitledcarproject@gmail.com.
I want to know the process of like which company went to, how was that buying, the crate showing up, and all the decisions making.
Yep.
We want to hear about that.
Yep, for sure.
If you haven't done it and you know someone, tell them to tell us.
Let's post that on our social medias too.
Okay,
I
we'll
want,
do that.
yeah, because this is the end of the show and a lot of people cut out by the time we hit here.
That's true.
So if you've made it, thank you. Tell a friend.
Tell a friend. Hit follow on our Instagram.
Push
and
the
our,
share button.
Push the share
and our
button.
Facebook at Untitled Car Project.
That's right. All right, that's it for tonight. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.
See you later.